Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever signed. It's right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right about
I don't think I've ever said this before.
So we got a lot of stories to go through today, but I want to start off with one right off the bat. And this is the ruling that they had with Supreme Court yesterday for birthright citizenship. And I want to share a pattern with you. And you tell me if you're concerned about this or not. So if we look at this, these stories that we have yesterday with the birthright citizenship, where the president comes out and tweets and says, congratulations to China. This was a very big victory for China. And a lot of people are like, well, that's not funny, that's not this, but maybe it is. Let's look at this. Even bigger than that, because there's a lot of things that went his way. There's a lot of things that he won. But the Democrats thought automatically when he got Neil Gorsuch appointed on April 10, 2017, that this was it. Then when he got Brett Kavanaugh on October 6, 2018, oh my God. Then we got Amy Coney Barrett's like, oh, they're going to rule everything in his favor. 100% of the time, they're going to rule in his favor. It's going to be like just a stamp, rubber stamp. Just go ahead. He's going to get everything that he wants. And I'm going to show you a pattern. And you tell me whose track record of being able to reason and say, I don't know, and who is, nope, no matter what, I'm siding this way. So if we go from the beginning till today, remember when Amy Coney Barrett was sworn in, she got in. A month later, they were trying to get the Texas lawsuit challenging the 2020 election. Do you know all three Trump appointees declined to block or overturn the certified election? He gave them the jobs. They voted against him. They're like, nope, we're not doing this. All right, I guess this, court packing stuff doesn't work. Then when you go look at the couple different things that just happened recently, the losses, the birthright citizenship 6-3, look at the patterns. All three leftists ruled against him. Now, keep in mind, when we look at the conservatives that we have in Supreme Court, what names do we have of those that are in the Supreme Court that are conservatives? Tom, can you give all the names? So we have Roberts.
Correct.
We have
Clarence Thomas,
Coney Barrett, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and you look at the left, Ketanji Jackson, Kagan, and we have Sotomayor, right?
And
okay.
Alito.
Don't forget, Alito.
Alito. And so watch this pattern. Trump versus Barbara, critical loss, okay? Democrats voted against it. No problem, 3-0. Let's see if they have the ability to reason. Policy and institutional wins, Little versus Cox. This is in Cox and West Virginia. 6-3 decision affirming that states have full constitutional authority to restrict schools and colleges, sports teams based strictly on biological sex. This is men not competing with women's sports. You would assume everybody voted and said, yeah, this is common sense. Nope. The three Democrats all voted with the Democratic position. Let me keep going. Wilford against Lopez, 6-3. Decision striking down Hawaii's vampire rule that banned concealed carry permit holders from entering private businesses without an explicit posted invitation. All three Democrats against it. NRSC against FEC, 6-3 decision striking down federal limits on how much national political parties can spend in direct coordination with their candidates, 6-3. This one, we may not even be for it. I don't even know if that's a good idea because I want money out of politics. This brings more money into politics, right?
That's bad for small independent candidates.
It is. So Blanche versus Lau, another 6-3, Democrats against it. Then you go E. Jean Carroll. All three Democrats voted. He lost, I think he has to pay like $5 million. Federal Reserve Independence, 5-4, all Democrats against it. Election logistics, all Democrat against. If you look at one pattern, this is what you'll notice. You will notice there's never, ever been a time where Democrats sided with Trump. But there's been many, many instances where conservative judges sided with Democrats. So what does this mean? I mean, this is like for a lot of people would even say Trump had a pretty good record with the Supreme Court. A lot of things got done. Roe, the whole Dobbs with Roe v. Wade, and that was a big thing that he got done. Affirmative action, that was a big thing that he got done. So hey, the executive power got a lot stronger. But that's not what I want to talk about with this. It's long term. What happens if this is 6-3 the other way around? Mm-hmm. That's all I want you to think about, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. When that day comes, what will take place? Because they vote for them every time. There is no dispute. There is no debate. Conservatives will debate. Conservatives will say, no, I think Trump's going a little bit too much. Conservatives will say, no, I think that's too aggressive. Democrats are going to be like, nope, I'm siding with my party every single time over what's actually good and right for the country. If we go back 6 years ago, if the ruling was the other way around, if Democrats had controlled the Supreme Court 6-3, you know what would have happened with Colorado? Trump would have been able to vote. That would have been off the ballot. He would have been on the 2020, 2024, whatever the Colorado ballot was, the first one that came out saying, this would have been a very, very different America you'd be living in today. I don't even know if many of us would be able to do the podcast and talk about the things that we talk about. Control would be on a complete different side. Many of these social media companies would be worried about the control. So even though on the executive side, there's been some good that's happened to the president, I think it's important to always keep in the back of your mind, brace for impact for the day where Democrats have control over this whole thing on the Supreme Court side, because they don't have the ability to reason. They're always party, voting all the way down on whatever the Democrat Party wants. That's what they side with. And a 29-year-old socialist also won yesterday over another person that was on their 15th term. Another Democratic socialist won yesterday. So keep in mind, this socialism message is getting some traction in many different markets. But with that being said, let's go with some good news. The good news is LeBron is leaving the Lakers. That's very good news. Future looks bright. Finally, the day I find that he's on another team, you're going to see me do that podcast in a Laker jersey. Because true Laker fans never looked at LeBron as a Laker. You know that. You know that. You know that. True Laker fans. You know that. Magic's a true Laker. James Worthy's a true Laker. Kobe's a true Laker. LeBron's not it. LeBron is like, let me just go get something and come over here and, so we'll see where he's going to end up. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Citizen Vigilante, that movie. It's a bunch of people are around the world choosing to become like this Citizen Vigilante. And, Elon watched the movie. He hates it. He doesn't like the movie. So I want to know why he hates the movie. He's got a problem with the movie. The producer, Uwe Boll, said something I want to share with you. There's a story about AR-15s, which Supreme Court wants to review AR-15 firearm bans. The crypto, the president, apparently the numbers came up and it showed that he made around $1 billion on crypto last year, something we got to talk about. There's a story by Forbes that says, why do you keep getting rejected from jobs? It's worth us talking about. We'll talk about it today. Today is July 1st, which is what? Today's Bobby Bonilla Day. And for some of you guys, I want to count his money. It's $1.19 million. That started in 2010, I believe, or 2011. This is his 15th year. He's got 10 more years of getting paid $1.19 million. One of the greatest annuities ever of a guy that negotiated. Good for Bobby Bonilla. And then aside from that, Mexico World Cup, shambles. It was craziness. Ecuador played so lousy. I got a friend from Quito. I'm like, what was that all about, the way you guys played yesterday? But shout out to Mexico on what they did. Kalshi got a $20 million deal with the World Cup. And if you think $20 million, that's, by the way, nothing. That's a steal for Kalshi that they're up there. And they're talking about right now going public. And I saw a number of $40 billion potentially for Kalshi.
There's a rumor out there that they have a $40 billion valuation.
Not a bad valuation.
Floated.
It's not a bad valuation.
No confirmation yet, but that's a big number.
It's not bad. By the way, there was a Simpsons episode in 1997, I believe 1997, that shows the final, not finals, it's a game between Portugal and Mexico. That's what Simpson says. Now, Elon says they're full of shit, but that's a complete different story we'll get into. 1,200 new millionaires every day last year, 2025, according to Wall Street Journal. Then you have MacKenzie Scott, gave $26 billion of Jeff Bezos' money to charities last year. And which means who is really more charitable, MacKenzie or Jeff Bezos? And the number, the dollars, some places it went to, Tom was worried and saying, why is she putting $100+ million into CSUN? It's a state school Tom was talking about. So, and Tom went to CSUN. Tom got his degree from CSUN. So he wants to know, where's that money? Maybe he wants to no longer give money to say, if you guys are getting money from MacKenzie, why are we supporting different things? But the state is taking care of it anyway.
Yeah, then knock off the email with your hand up.
And then fourth is rehiring engineers that they fired. They're like, look, we were hoping AI can do all your jobs, but we need human beings. Can you please come back? And so that's a great story. San Francisco, apparently if you make $180,000 a year as an engineer, that's still not enough. We'll talk about that. And then we got a couple stories here of Roy Singham that has to do with Kevin O'Leary and AI data centers. So we got a lot of stuff to go through here. Having said that, today's last day. Today at 6 p.m., July 1st, 6 p.m. today, we are hosting the fatherhood webinar on how to raise strong kids in a bad society and a weak culture. If you haven't yet registered, this is your last chance. Go to vtwebinar.com. Register again, vtwebinar.com. We'll cover 6 different types of fathers, 20 rules for strong fathers on how to raise kids, and last but not least, 10 conversations every father should have with his kids. If you haven't registered, go to vtwebinar.com. Again, vtwebinar.com. All right, let's get right into it. Supreme Court ruling. Tom, your thoughts with the Supreme Court ruling on what they're doing all over the place, the announcement that was made yesterday. Birthright citizenship.
Well, birthright citizenship, I think, is just wrong-headed, absolutely wrong-headed. There are 2 things that the Supreme Court has done in the last 15 years that have really kind of made me boil. And one of them was the Roberts decision, Citizens United, that basically changed the way you could fund elections, opening the floodgates and make, independent candidates just have incredible headwinds unless you've got the backing of a PAC or the RNC, DNC. And I don't think that's the spirit of our elections. And so now we had an election decision yesterday and then birthright, which means that, a Chinese spy can just, come on up into Honolulu, child, and then we have a future citizen sitting there and waiting. And by the way, they take them home. They take them home and they indoctrinate them into their ways, and now they're able to come here at college or whatever. And I look at this and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't what the founding fathers meant by this. This is not the deal. This is now a loophole, and sometimes you have to look at the Constitution and say there's a loophole. So this upset me, and then I'll give you my headline. My headline is this. For all of you that are wondering, why Ketanji Jackson, Sotomayor, and Kagan, why do they go the way they are? Because the Supreme Court's job is to interpret the Constitution and to end debate. And up above the Supreme Court, it says there is no appeal except to God. I believe that's etched up at the headstone, the limestone there of the Supreme Court, which means the argument stops here. We're finishing it. Now, but if the Dems don't believe in our Constitution, they don't want our Constitution, then they are merely doing what's called legislation from the bench. So for anyone that's confused why the Dems do this, it's because they're legislating from the bench. They are not interpreting the Constitution and saying, wait a minute, here's the argument, for and against. How do we interpret this to the Constitution? And that's what the Supreme Court was to do, to write opinions that said, interpreting the Constitution and this precedent, we feel this way. No, they are increasing. And this is why you hear Democrats in Senate and Congress, why can't we just stack the Supreme Court? Because they just see it as a rubber stamp on what they want. And they don't want what's in our Constitution.
Yeah, and by the way, if you go back to that one New York Post story about China and what they were charging, I don't know if you have that or not, if you want to pull it up. So it was interesting. Not this one. The one I sent you about China, what they were doing for $1.5 million, guys, Chinese millionaires and billionaires. I sent it to you guys in a group text. That one right there. How China supercharged birth tourism and scammed American citizenship for up to 1.5 million babies. So this is a business model. They were literally paying surrogates $100,000 to $200,000, saying, have a kid there. We'll bring, so now as a U.S. citizen, bring him back to China, indoctrinate him, then send him back to U.S. Yeah. And who knows, in 40, 50 years, maybe they can get involved in politics and change policy. America, we think short term. We think 5, 10, 20 years. China, they think 40, 50, 60 years. They think long term on what changes they can make. So what was your position with what happened yesterday?
So number one, I think the 14th Amendment, we have to look at it, it was amended for slavery. It wasn't amended for this idea of mass immigration that could be abused. I also think it's important to note that the conservative justices have shown that they will put limit on executive power where they can, but that doesn't mean that they believe that Congress can't legislate against this kind of thing. So that's a hopeful avenue to make a difference. That's, I think, by the way, if we just look back, it's so ironic to look at how the left responded to the nomination of Kavanaugh. the mass protests, the violence and everything, calling to pack the courts. And the great hypocrisy there is they were projecting. Because if they got their way and they had a democratic justice, they know that they would get everything they want. So they just projected that that's what's going to happen on the right. And it didn't turn out that way, but there has to be some limitation on this. It's such an abuse to our system. So, yeah.
Snyder.
Yeah, I mean, the Chinese story, when Trump made that tweet that, congratulations, China, he was making a point here that it's not really it's literally the Manchurian candidate or the potential for Manchurian candidate as a start. But not just to, run Chinese CCP-bred candidates through the U.S. system. It's also voters. Because all those citizens that are over there living in China, going through Chinese schools, being taught by the CCP, can come back at their leisure to the United States and maybe go to a red state that is 49-51 voting, and suddenly an influx of Chinese immigration, they're really just U.S. voters because they're they're citizens. Suddenly, the entire demographic of the voting public changes, and suddenly it's a completely different story. So he's really got something important here. And to Tom's point, it's about, yes, the conservative. I hate the fact there's a conservative and liberal bloc because it really shouldn't be. But the conservative bloc is saying, look, we don't necessarily disagree with the policy. We disagree with the methodology to fix it. But there are times when this is broken, as you said. There's loopholes in the Constitution or loopholes in the laws that maybe we need to look past all that and realize, as you said, this is not applicable to the circumstances that we have, and we maybe need to take a more pragmatic
Let me
approach.
ask you. Here's a question for you. Does China have birthright citizenship?
I don't believe so.
Not at all.
What other?
No, they're very tight.
European countries do have it. Like,
Outside of European
Very
countries,
few,
which
very
one of
few.
our enemies has birthright citizenship?
they don't.
So why are we offering that to them? What in an exchange? Because to me, a part of this negotiation, imagine you're in the room and you're amongst the 7 Supreme Court justices and you're having a conversation. And you say, why doesn't China do this? What countries don't allow it? I want to know which ones don't allow it, not allow it. Is this the one that don't allow it or allow it? No, automatic
That's
citizenship,
with.
nearly everyone. Who doesn't allow it? Who doesn't allow birthright citizenship?
First statement, vast majority.
Vast majority don't allow. Okay, UK, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Netherlands, Belgium, Switzerland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Poland, Czech, Australia don't allow.
Most of the countries in Asia.
Japan, China, South Korea, India, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam. Go lower. Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Kuwait. Then you got Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, Kenya, Morocco. Then you got Australia, New Zealand. Keep going a little bit lower. That don't allow birthright citizenship.
Pat, those were only partial lists, too. The full list is much bigger.
Also, there is an argument that the Supreme Court could have taken that does justify us not giving citizenship, which is like jurisdiction thereof. In other words, the ability to have citizenship is based on allegiance. It is not just based on being born. There is a jurisdiction issue. So if you can say that these people do not have an allegiance to the United States, that they don't have a right to be citizens here just because they're born.
Wasn't that the argument that Kentanji Brown was making or Jackson was making about
making
if you
against it?
Right. If you get arrested in Japan, where's my allegiance? That whole thing. I mean,
Yeah, I remember that. That was like 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Something like that. I saw that, yeah. So, Brandon, where are you at with this?
Oh, no, it's horrible. I mean, we just had the mayor in California that was found to be a Chinese spy. So, I mean, stuff like that's right in our face.
Is that Glendora or something?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so, I mean, who knows what level that could be happening at. And I really don't like the amount of power the Supreme Court has, like, and courts in general lately. You know, they've been getting in the way of a lot of what Trump is doing. And it's just like Congress, how you said, where the Republicans always end up getting divided and the Democrats are always in unison, no matter how crazy it is. So, like imagine the full extent of what the Supreme Court could do if, you know, things, because I always said it was a godsend that Trump was able to somehow be in a position where he could get 3 Supreme Court judges. So that was totally lucky. You know, thank God that he did, because it saved a few things. Like, he'd probably be in jail if that didn't happen, and also he wouldn't have even gotten on the ballot. But like, imagine if that went the other way, like with how united they are, how much they could push through, you know, seamlessly.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely. Again, Russia, China, Iran, Turkey, most of Europe, no birthright citizenship. So why are we doing it? Why are we giving it to you?
Because a lot of people hate our country.
So what if they said the following? What if, like, a part of it where I would have reasoned? So say now the opposing side comes and says, Pat, what if we allow it with countries that allow birthright citizenship for us? Maybe there's a little bit of reason there. because it is benefiting who? Not us, them. So if you're not allowing me, why should I allow you? That's just not a fair negotiation with anybody.
It's an adversary.
Why am I letting you do it? But you're like, listen, you guys can't have your products in our country. I don't know if you guys saw what happened with auto sales from 24 to 25. U.S. automakers in U.S. from 2024 to 2025, we had 12% of market share in China in 2024. It's at 5% right now. So we went from 12% to 5%. So what is China doing? China's like, get all the American cars out of here. Make them yourself. Get all these social media companies. Make them ourselves. Get all these products out. Make them ourselves. Yet at the same time, all our products are being manufactured there because they got the control. So China's long-term thinking, they're like, these people are idiots. We can send hundreds of thousands of people, invest, send them there, bring them to China, indoctrinate them, send them back there to get into politics. We're going to take over U.S. over the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years. They have no clue what the hell they're doing. There is a loophole.
China, why wouldn't you do that?
There's a loophole for them. Big way. Big loophole.
It's so interesting because it's a flaw in free societies. That fundamentally, if you have a fascist society that can just overlook any of its rights and say this benefits us for the long term, we'll just do it. But we do have a constitution, so we always have to revert back to that because anytime you bypass it just based on what you believe the interests of the time are, you have a slow road to fascism. It's a really tricky thing because in the end of the day, I've thought about this. Like if you just look at population, if you have a bunch of immigration happening and you have the population of, let's say, just theoretically, Muslims in the United States going up, that is fundamentally changing the face of the United States. At what point do you say, we have to stop this? We have to change it. And so we're seeing that now with abuse through, Chinese people being born here. So it's a really, really interesting conversation.
What was that clip that you had of Ketanji Brown? Can you go to it on what her argument was? If I steal someone's wallet in Japan, the Japanese authorities can arrest me and prosecute me. I'm still locally owing allegiance in that sense.
That's not allegiance. That's legal jurisdiction.
Yeah,
right. That is such a...
You're not... You're the opposite of allegiance. You went over there to commit a crime in Japan showing no allegiance to the local laws.
Yeah.
And they bonk you on the head and put you in jail.
But the one part that we have to pay close attention to is when I went to Brazil, and we were in Brasilia, and I'm interviewing Jair Bolsonaro, okay? The interview's in the third hour. At this point, he's emotional. He's crying. Guy comes in, taps on his back, and he's getting irritated because he's in the middle of the story. He says, no, we got to go. You're about to get arrested. To the end of the interview. I'm like, and then they come whisper to me, hey, he has to go. They just announced he's getting arrested. I said, what are you talking about? Because of this guy here. Why? Because they have control of the Supreme Court. They have to pay very close attention to what's going to be happening when they have control. It's going to happen. When they do, they are way more united than our guys are. Way more united on their ideology.
Well, it's a fundamental precept of the left, right? It's the ends always justify the means. And so they start from the ends and work backward. And what are the means to achieve that goal? That's why they're so in favor of packing the Supreme Court.
Let me get to the next one here. Now watch this one here. Supreme Court to review AR-15 firearms. Okay? What are you talking about? On Tuesday, said it will decide later this year whether state bans on the possession of AR-15 firearms and similar semi-automatic style guns violate the Second Amendment. 10 states plus D.C. banned the weapons which has been used in many of the deadliest mass shootings in the U.S. history, including, again, this is an ABC story, including Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut in 2012 and Uvalde, Texas. So what's your concern with this one here, Ilan?
I'm a big Second Amendment guy. I think the data just doesn't support bans of AR-15s. It didn't reduce homicide in the states where it was applied. The vast majority of homicide is coming from handguns just off the bat. And in the conversation of handguns, the vast majority of that is coming from illegally obtained firearms. Illegally obtained. Over 80% of the homicides are from illegally obtained. And that's where the focus should be because that's not a partisan issue. That's something everyone can agree on. Let's get illegal guns off the street. Additionally, firearms are a major reducer of crime in virtually all studies. There's multiple studies that show anywhere from 1.6 to 2.5 million incidents are prevented because of the expectation or potential that the victim may have a firearm. And when there's studies done where they question people in prisons, what's the number one deterrent for you? And they always say that my victim might be armed. So I don't know. We're going about this completely the wrong way. I very fear that there's going to be steps on the Second Amendment that are coming, especially as you talk about as the courts become more left-leaning over time. That could really be...
enjoy your AR-15 because the moment these guys take control on the left, you'll see what happened there. Tom, why is it, if their concern is guns, why is it that Idaho, that has 60+% license to carry, has the lowest crime in all of America? Why is that?
It's because it's the deterrent. And the statistics show, time and again, Idaho ranks 50 out of 50, dead last in ATM and armed robbery muggings. Why is that? Because they have a constitutional carry. Means if you're a citizen of good standing, you're not a felon and you're not on probation. Even if you're on probation for like reckless driving and DWI, you have to step back from your carry right. But it's constitutional carry. And so there's a 62% chance that you're robbing someone and they're going to turn around and say, I don't think so. Bang. And so, and the argument that, well, more guns means more crime. No, it doesn't. It is less crime in Idaho, less crime. And so when you go take a look, and look, here's the gun homicide rate.
In city, look by city of gun homicide rate, it's all left-leaning state. If they go by, let's look at the state,
States.
but look at the cities. Look at the
23 out of 27.
And so now you have gun homicide rate, and Idaho's number 4 lowest in the nation. And so when you have a disciplined, free, armed by choice citizenry, guess what happens to crime? Crime goes down. Now, I'm against automatics. I don't think you need an automatic to go out and do deer hunting. But I am a Second Amendment person. And what they wanted to do with the AR-15, there were AR-15, shaped and modeled weapons that were less powerful than the 30-06 that I'll take out deer hunting. Mm-hmm. And so the question is it automatic or non-automatic? I think that should be the thing. And we should be very disciplined about, where criminals get illegal guns will be things that 2A advocates, I disagree with one thing. I mean, you can't have trunk sales. You got to have ways.
So few of the actual guns that are obtained illegally are bought at like loophole events and through trunk. I agree with you.
That's always a red herring.
I just think there just needs to be sensible controls, and it's basically, do you have an ID? How did you buy that? That's very simple to me. Not deep background checks that start to be a hidden
database,
a hidden cobra.
What would happen to Chicago if they made it available for people to have license to carry? What would happen in Chicago within 12 months?
Springfield, Illinois passes constitutional carry, meaning just what I said for Idaho. Citizens in good standing can pack it. Do you know what happened in Chicago?
What would happen?
You would, the gangs would still be after the gangs, but perimeter crime would drop.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff.
Virginia. What happened in Virginia after the election last year? One of the first things that the new governor did, Spanberger, they went after guns. I mean, that's what they're going to do. It is, no matter what happens, no matter what studies you cite or evidence or just freaking common sense, the left hates an armed population. This is not strictly about crime, is it? We know it's not about crime. Mm-mm. There's a political angle to it. They've always been against the Second Amendment for a whole bunch of reasons. And so you make that argument, and sensible people will agree with you guys, but that's not where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
It's always emotional appeals also.
Always.
It's like you don't care about the dying kids.
The children. It's always about the children. And that's,
I'm like, I fundamentally believe this will result in less dying kids. That's
exactly
my argument.
Well, that's the other thing, though. There's also not enough data and evidence that supports the good guy with a gun, specifically because they don't track those kinds of stats on purpose, right? Mm-hmm. You can't say, well, the good guy with a gun prevented this crime because we don't know if that's actually the case, even though common sense dictates that it is. And in places where people are armed, you have less crime because you don't even need to own a gun. If a criminal, like you said, if a criminal is afraid that everybody is armed in that population, you have sort of like herd immunity.
Right. The preponderance of deterrent protects the entire populace.
But it's not just about crime, though. It's about the government. Like, I don't trust our government one bit to not overstep our rights when the wrong person's in power. And that's the reason that we're the only country in the world with free speech, because the same way that people won't randomly go rob houses in Idaho because they know somebody, like half the population has guns, the government won't overstep our boundaries because they know that we're well armed. Like, I literally think that we should have the same level of weapons available to us that the military has, like, to some degree, like, aside from maybe nuclear weapons, obviously. But, yeah, it's not an accident that we're the only country in the world that has, the right to bear arms and the right to have free speech completely without any asterisks next to it.
Well, if this was a common sense argument about actual data and evidence, there would be no such thing as gun-free zones, right?
Yep. Yeah.
We're-
Which is the most dangerous place.
Right, exactly.
Also, the very same people who say that they're not scared of the government and that you should trust it are the very same people who say, well, they'll look at like reserves where natives are and they'll be like, they have a right to defend themselves. They need guns. The government oversteps there all the time. I'm like, you're making a pro-Second Amendment argument. You've just changed the class of people or the group of people you think need defense. But the notion that the government will never come after us, a lot of people changed their mind on that after COVID. I think that shifted a lot.
What's the likelihood you think the next 10 years, Supreme Court, if it's a majority left, they come after Second Amendment?
I think it's
100.
100% because of the first clause. Everybody talks about the second clause. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's the second clause. It starts with a comma.
Regulated.
Why does it start with a comma? There you go. It's the Second Amendment says, quote, a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, comma, therefore the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The first point is that the people armed is necessary to deter a dictator returning to their very government. They were worried about an English king coming back. That's what the founding fathers did.
But that's what the left accuses Trump of, being a fascist who's a threat to democracy.
So let me ask you, when that does happen, how the hell they're going to confiscate?
well, that's
How the hell they're going to confiscate? Go ahead. It's going. You know what's going to happen? It's going to be the same exact thing as, getting rid of 15 illegal immigrants that came here legally. Go ahead. How bad did it look with ICE going after them? How bad do you think it's going to look? Mr. Ellsworth, we're here to take your guns. What are you going to tell
To
them?
offer a counterpoint, though,
I lost them. What do you mean you lost them? I don't have them here. I don't know where they're at. Somebody stole it from me. We were robbed. Did you report it to the cops? No, I was afraid they were going to come back and attack me because I got some threats. Where did you get some threats? Random phone calls. I mean, what are you going to do when they come and do it? It's going to be such an interesting battle when they try to come and get. By the way, how many guns, AR-15, semi-auto, how many guns are in the hands of the American people? I saw the number the other
Hundreds
day.
of millions. Yeah.
I think about 300 million. It may be a bigger number. Can you pull up the number?
I think it's like 170 million.
I'm about 25 of those 300.
You are?
The thing that sucks, though, is that it's
500 million civilian-owned
half
firearms.
a billion guns.
It's crazy.
That's not enough.
But
The late P.G. O'Rourke said, when the government comes for guns, they better bring ladders because we'll all be on the roof with them.
That's a great one.
The difference between that and the illegal immigrants, though, is this is well documented, especially in the liberal states, which that part sucks. The people who did it the right way, it'll be very easy to see how many guns
For them
they
to
have.
get it done, for them. But confiscating to me. How are they going to do it?
Conservative states
Go
is very
visualize confiscating in Texas.
I'm
Go ahead.
visualizing a world.
Hey,
where,
Billy Bob, we're here to take away your shotgun.
Well,
and
what- how about AI law enforcement, though?
It's not an overnight thing. Also, it's a slow thing on restrictions on certain firearms, and then more regulation on the type of magazines you can have. So over time, the limitation on guns gets more and more extreme, and then by the end, you're like, oh, I can own like a. Then they say, oh, you don't actually have a right to self-defense, like Canada said.
But look at what happened in Virginia. After they passed the ban, several prosecutors, county prosecutors, state prosecutors, sheriffs said, we're not going to enforce the ban. This is unenforceable. There will be a wave of civil disobedience, and it will be pretty substantial, which is one reason why they want to go to the Supreme
And I
Court.
think that'll be, I think that'll be a way a lot of states will recruit as well.
Yeah,
A lot of way they'll recruit. Come here. Come here. Yeah, trust me. We're okay. We trust you. We believe you. You avoid the blue states. They don't believe you. They don't trust you. We trust you if you want to come here.
Oh,
Free
look at the
people.
headline. Governor Spanberger signs legislation to protect families, kids. Families and kids.
It's always about the children,
Yeah.
the ones we didn't abort.
Give up your rights. The million we per year. That
All right,
we
let's
don't-
go to the next story. Next story, Wall Street
Those
Journal.
that made it.
Let's go to the next story. Wall Street Journal. U.S. added 1,200 new millionaires a day last year. America knows how to manufacture millionaires. Over 440,000 people or more than 1,200 a day became millionaires in 2025, accounting for nearly half of the world's new millionaires, according to an annual report in Global Wealth published Tuesday. In other words, capitalism works. This is good news. They'll spin it as negative, but this is good news. The number of millionaires globally rose in 2025, reaching record levels in every market that UBS tracked. More than 23.6 million Americans are now worth seven figures or more. The fastest growing segments globally, rising at a 7.3% clip over the last 5 years, were those with 50 million to 100 million in wealth. The U.S. gains have come thanks in large parts to surging financial markets, while UBS includes property values in its calculation. Financial assets like stocks, bonds, accounted for 79% of the wealth in the U.S. The data also shows that progress hasn't been evenly distributed, while average wealth per U.S. adult climbed by 10% between 2020 and 2025, net of inflation. Median wealth fell by 20%. As a mature market, the 1.9% growth of U.S. millionaires wasn't the highest. Eastern European countries topped the chart. Lithuania added 921 millionaires at an 8% growth rate. Folks, let's move to Lithuania. So, Tom, you hear a story like this. How do you react to this?
Well, what they said was 79% of that was related to investments. So if you take a look at 401ks, they have a lot of ETFs and a lot of index in there because your company only gives you a few selections, and people that have IRAs. Last year, the S&P 500, SPY, that's an ETF, it was actually 18%. 2024, it was up 24%. So take a look at this. If you had 600,000 in your savings, you would have had another 150, so 750, and then you would have had 825. So the last 2 years have been incredible. And the NASDAQ 100, 25% up in 24, 20% up in 25. So I'm just quoting the indexes. This isn't people throwing darts at the board. These are just, I bought the index of NASDAQ technology, or I bought the index of the S&P 500. And 79% of the millionaires were coming from this. So guess what? At a time where people's, IRAs were up to $700,000, 2 years of that, they touched $1 million. And that's where most of the millionaire harvesting was coming. Additionally, in certain states, you had the house. Suddenly, mom and dad's house jumped up. I mean, we had in Florida here, 40% trailing value creation since 2021, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been bonkers. So guess what? That also counts. So what has happened here is that people getting ready to retire, millionaires were created, but they want to spin it like, well, it's not evenly distributed. It's not evenly this. It is if you were a person that saved and was sensible.
Jeff.
Yeah, I think that's all positive, but I'm conflicted on this because I think that what we really want to see from new millionaires are not people who are passively invested in the stock market. The stock market systemically rises. Not that that's a bad thing. Not that that's horrible. But a better set of conditions would be where we're making millionaires because they're starting new businesses or their incomes are growing, more than just passive investment, because that's a signal of a healthy economy that's actually generating the sustainable wealth. And wealth is not money. Wealth is not capital. Sustainable enterprises that will lead to or are supposed to lead into a situation like that. So millionaires from the stock market, not a bad thing, but again, conflicted on it a little bit.
Let me tell you, if you're watching this, you're not in a market. Your guy asked me a question yesterday on Manek, 31 years old, married, one kid. He said, Pat, I'm really worried because I only have $90,000 to $100,000. I'm in crypto, I'm in this, I'm in that. What should I be doing? He says, because that report that came out from that organization since 1950s, that they've been accurate 94.7% of the time, they said there's going to be a massive global depression from 2030 to 2036. What do you do? I said, worry if your age starts with 6 and worry if you're not in the market. Why? For decades, people have tried to time the market and they have failed. Only a few people, if your name is not Jim Simons from Renaissance Technology, the late Jim Simons, who used AI to create this company that did so well that eventually he told all his clients, you can no longer have your money in Renaissance Technologies. You got to go do it yourself. They kicked everybody out and they only kept it for their 1,400 employees. By the way, the only way you can get into the Jim Simons portfolio, one of the only ways, is through Autopilot. Autopilot is an app that literally they go and find all the ways people invest. One of them is Nancy Pelosi, tracker on what she puts her money. You get to literally put your money into it. If not, you can't go directly to Jim Simons' fund and say, I want to be in here. So there's tools nowadays that you can take advantage of it. But the biggest mistake you'll make is sitting on the sidelines, not participating in the market, trying to time. Yes, some people get lucky. Yes, some people say, let me tell you what I did. I got in at the right time. I left at the right time. But most people don't get lucky timing it. Brandon, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit misleading because, it makes it sound like the country's doing great in terms of like the cost of living and disposable income, but that's not really the case. It's like 10% of the country owns, I think, 50% of the stocks, or it might be 10% owns 90% of the stocks. But the moral of it is that the vast majority of stocks are owned by 10% of the country. So a lot of people aren't investing, which I agree you should. It's the biggest defense against inflation, and I think a lot of this growth in terms of the number of what they call millionaires, people who have own a house and have a 401k, that's obviously inflated by the cost of living. That's currency devaluation, but it's you gotta defend yourself from the reality that you live in. So the best way to do that is to own assets like stocks and mostly stocks, not bonds probably these days. But yeah, I totally agree with you. That's like the overwhelming data on that.
I think when you're not investing, you're literally losing money. And you do have to hedge against inflation. I do think what you said last week about slow and steady wins the race still holds. And I don't see it as a bad thing. I mean, we're producing a ton of millionaires compared to world averages. That's incredible. And you could still have a very good life in America. The notion that you have to have a mansion and have 15 cars and have a 5,000, I think that compared to the rest of the world, the United States is still the best country in the world, period. It's a land of opportunity. What you were saying earlier about entrepreneurs, I do think that we're still seeing that. We're just not seeing it at the rate that you'll see people become millionaires through investments, just because of reality of the time it takes to become a millionaire through building a business and the risks associated with it, the capital you need to do it. You're just never going to see as many millionaires created through entrepreneurship as you are going to see through slow and steady investments.
It's a mistake to not have a financial plan in place. It's a mistake. And it's a mistake when you sit there, you think you have all the time in the world. This concept of I'll do it later, I'll get to it. We'll get to it, babe. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. It's too late. Mm-hmm. Insurance. I remember a guy, I'm like, hey, Jacopo was his name. He was a general manager of El Torito off of Balboa and Ventura. And I used to go to El Torito because they had the best pumpkin seed dressing for salad. They had the best carne asada. And my favorite waiter was a guy named Sergio, who was there for 28 years. And a manager was Jacopo. One of my guys went and sat down with Jacopo. He had 3 kids, married, 3 kids. Wife didn't speak English. She was a stay-home mom, taking care of the kids. And we're presenting him that he needs life insurance. He laughs at us. He laughs at this guy that went there, Tony. He says, I know what you're doing. You're trying to make me feel uncomfortable, so I buy life insurance. I'm only 38 years old. Nothing's going to happen. He says, really? Yeah, $60 a month, even a term he didn't want to get. We leave a week later. I come to El Torito. I see Sergio. Sergio, how are you? Hey, where's Jacopo at? You didn't hear the news? No. What happened? He died last night.
Oh, my God.
Stop it. Yep, he died last night. Wife doesn't speak English. 3 kids. What is she going to do now? She has to marry anybody to make it work. And taxpayers have to take care of her. These types of things happen. You have to get your finances in order early. Do not think you have all the time in the world. Me and Vinny the other day were talking. Vinny's telling me, I said, Vinny, where were you? I was at the doctor. I don't know how many times I went to the doctor in my 20s. In your 20s, how many times you go to the doctor?
Never.
Nah, you don't go to the doctor. In your 30s, yeah, I guess I'll do my. In your 40s, it's like your best friends are doctors. You're spending time
colonoscopy,
all these other things you have to do. And then you're like, how the hell did this happen? Like this, you're 47. Like this, you're 57. Like this, you're 65. Like this, you're 75. Don't wait. Go get a financial plan for you and your family. And there is no sponsorship here to say, this is brought to you by TD Waterhouse. No, we have nothing for you here. Just go get it in order.
And stick to it.
Don't wait for
it.
Yeah, stick to it. It was a conversation we had last week.
And don't panic. Yeah,
which was a funny conversation we had. All right, let's go to another person. This other story here that came about, I know this is a big story that we got to get into. This is a different kind of a plan of creating wealth. Trump, $1 billion made last year in crypto. I'm trying to find out what page this is on. I don't have it here. I have the $1 billion mining deal.
Oh, 7.
Is it page 7?
Yep.
I don't see the crypto one. What page is the crypto deal? Crypto, do you see the crypto deal? I don't see crypto. I just see the $1 billion. So let me just read this, and then we'll go into the crypto as well. Trump made $1 billion from crypto. Financial disclosure shows, according to his personal financial disclosure released on Tuesday, the personal financial disclosure showed that the president earned at least $524 million from the sale of cryptocurrency tokens through Trump-connected World Liberty Financial. The president's disclosure also listed earning an additional $636 million from CIDC Digital LLC and an official of the Trump organization, majority of which came from a $635 million licensing agreement with Celebration Coin for the sale of President Trump's meme coin. The more than 900-page document lists several of the president's assets, sources, and income. There's another one as well, which I'll get into here in a minute. Are you comfortable with this? How do you feel about this, Jeff? I'll come to you first.
I hate this. I really do. I mean, he's doing himself no favors here. Yes, I understand it's a lot of money, but in one sense, you should put that aside because first of all, he's giving his opponents all the ammunition they ever need to just attack him endlessly, and it will peel off voters because they'll look at this and say, "This isn't right. This is not right." So this is one thing I think we should really criticize the president on because it is the exact opposite of what he needs to do. He needs to be as squeaky clean as he can possibly be, and this just opens the door for so many angles on criticisms that actually stick. I mean, he gets crap for a whole bunch of stuff that he shouldn't, but this is one that he just it's a self-enforced error.
What's the thought? Is the thought that by the end of the term, we're going to pardon each other anyway, so they can't do anything to us? Because Biden set the tone.
Well, he has
Yeah.
immunity.
The moment-
Well,
But
there's no crime being.
There's no crime, but this is sort of like you need to be altruistic. You almost need to be because this is bigger than just Trump's financial situation or his children's financial situation.
Well, you know,
you should
Stephen
put
A.
that aside and say, look, for the good of the country, I should probably be squeaky clean because they're going to come after me for everything I do.
Stephen A. Smith did a clip the other day. He says, how the hell did the Clintons and Obama's net worth go to hundreds of millions of dollars?
Book deals.
How did that happen?
Book deals.
How did it
Of
happen?
course,
How did they make that kind of
every
money?
politician makes hundreds
Yeah,
of millions.
the
when they're-
difference is this guy was a billionaire before. He's a billionaire after, but specific to crypto and meme coins. Tom, where are you at with that?
On the crypto and meme coins?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to give my opponent. I mean, there's legal, and then there's public opinion. When you're trying to get the SAVE Act passed, and you're trying to get
Bigger things. much bigger
filibuster
things.
done, and I want, you've heard me, I'm going to say it again. I want John Thune and Trump to go hot on the filibuster, and let's end this blockage to all types of legislation and get the legislation out, get it voted on. That's what I want to see use the time on. Now, why does that relate to this? When you're out there with your coin or a meme coin, you may be legal, but it's just what we're talking about here. You're giving the enemy ammunition, even if they're full of crap and they're making wrong-headed accusations, completely incorrect. Now suddenly they've got this thing that they can use when we're trying to kind of drive the country. And the modern president has to be aware of the waves of information like this so that we can, number one, not be afraid of every rumor that's out there, because a lot of this, we just need to give our finger to the social media
So you guys are on
world.
the same page with that. I want to go to this thing, Ilana, I'm coming to you. Let me play this and I'll come to you. This is the Stephen A. Smith on how Clintons and Obamas got such a high net worth. Go for it.
I'll confess something to y'all. Clinton was a lawyer in Arkansas, grew up poor, relatively broke. How the hell him and the Clinton Foundation is worth hundreds of millions of dollars beats me. Barack Obama was a community organizer who became the president of the United States, and last time I checked, that salary ain't over $450,000, if I remember correctly. I got to double check that. How the hell you depart from office, you worth over $200 million? It's amazing to me how these politicians go into office and you're sworn to serve the American people. It's called service, but somehow, some way, they always depart exponentially richer than when they arrived. I'll confess something to you.
Pause it right there.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem with that?
Well, I'm far more scared of the politician whose net worth increased 1,000-fold than the one who was a billionaire and made another billion, to be honest with you. So I have a little bit less of a problem than you guys with it. I do think meme coins are dangerous. I think they lose Americans a lot of money. So I have a problem with it. An ethical level, if you're the president of the United States, you know this is going to be a trend that's skyrocketing.
I'm not a
What's a-
fan of meme coins
a
at all.
perception
Like,
level.
So-
zero with meme coins for me.
It seems like a scam. So he's setting
Meme
himself up
coins
to be.
are
Yeah, they are.
ethically-
I've never been
People
a fan of NFTs. I've never been a fan of meme coins. I've never been a fan of those things.
People associate them with rug pulls and scam. I mean, there's an argument here that Trump's coin was a rug pull too. So it's not worth it. It's really not worth it.
Yeah, and the vast majority of it came from meme coins. So yes, it doesn't sit right with me. So
No.
I care more about, like, are there potential conflicts of interest, even as a precedent here, for the future of presidents investing in crypto and doing these kind of things, and the policies they pass directly affecting it. So that's my main concern. But
I mean, the Biden approach.
the Biden approach.
Brandon, your thoughts?
Yeah, I remember originally when he was running for his second term, a lot of the stuff we spoke about and speaking highly of him was that he was the only president that we could remember where his net worth went down when he was president. And I always say the best president, I think, is a rich president that goes into office with plenty of money where they don't have to worry about it, because it's like just so tempting as a average salary or average net worth person to go into politics, and then you get all these this money and offers and deals thrown at you. So I imagine that could be very tempting for a lot of people who aren't rich going into politics. So I felt much better with Trump being a billionaire going into politics for that reason. Now, if you're going in and you're not making a lot of these changes that people wanted you to make, where he's not going after the deep state as much as people want him to, but he is doing the things that the deep state did, like at least if you're going to do that, at least go after them as viciously as you said. But instead, you're doing a lot of the same things they did, like where Biden's doing the deals in Ukraine and Nancy Pelosi's doing the insider trading. So
this is going to be the greatest hits that they're going to do. You're going to see this on ads. You're going to see this on Major League Baseball playoff ads, on how money was made. You're going to see how Don Jr., every one of them, you're going to see all of it everywhere. AOC, Newsom, whoever it is going to be campaigning around this.
And a lot of people said that he cared more about money than his legacy. Like, I argued with Scaramucci about that on here, and this makes it look like, okay, do you care more about making money than your legacy? Like, what? Like, do you care more about an actual?
I don't think that's what it is. I think it's driven by narcissism. Trump likes to get in on trends. He likes to do the thing that like people are all involved in, and will get a media. And I don't know if he was told he can make a ton of money on it. I think it's just his ego coming in, being like, I can make a Trump coin. I could be the guy who's the Trump coin, make millions of dollars. Everyone's going to get rich. I don't know if his mindset is, let me see if I can, get $1 billion out of this for my own personal gain. I don't believe that's
to be honest with you, between 0 to 10, how much do you think he understands what Bitcoin is, what Ethereum is, and what meme coins are?
Yeah.
0 to 10, what do you score it?
1 to 2.
Tom, where do you put it?
3.
Where do you put it?
Same.
Okay. So, to me, it's more like advisors came. Hey, we can do this. All right, you going to do it? I don't need to deal with it. We got it. Go. Boom. We just made this much money, and that guy made 40 million or 20 million or whatever.
I still think
you got to
turn it down.
I think you got to be very, very, very careful with it, because you set the tone, and anybody and everybody afterwards going to say, guy made 22 million. Your guy made $1 billion. The guy made 82 million. Your guy made $1 billion. You're going to hear this for the next 20
years. You see the high ground, right?
You no longer have net worth increase.
But let's also not fool ourselves. He never campaigned on high ground. You know what I'm saying? He never campaigned on.
I'm not sure that's a good argument, though.
No, but also this is what
I know it's not. I'm just telling you, that was never his campaign. That was.
Yeah, you do know what you're getting with Trump.
That was Pence's campaign, a man of value. That was never this guy's campaign. Okay, if you ever watched a movie, one of the movies about Trump, he says, "Look, I have one problem. It's the only problem I have. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. It's just women. I have one problem. It's the only thing I got." Anyways, okay, all right. So let's get to the next story. Next story I want to get to is this MacKenzie Scott, $26 billion. She's given to charity after her divorce. Okay, she left Bezos. They got a divorce. I think she ended up marrying a school teacher. I don't know if that even worked out. I don't think they're together anymore. But she ended up giving $26 billion. I don't know if you guys seen this or not. If you want to pull up the list for me to read this to you, $26 billion of money that was given to charity. And Elon Musk responded to this. He had a problem with this. Elon Musk said on MacKenzie giving away the $26 billion of her fortune, sadly, it makes the world a worse place. Why? Because of where the money went to. So now, do you have that list? There's a tweet that breaks down exactly where the money went to. Maybe it's in here. If it's not, you may want to look for that. So MacKenzie, after all that, she's given away more than $26 billion the past few years of thousands of organizations through her foundation, Yield Giving, while many of her recipients had never received a donation of that side, and many have called them life-changing gifts. Not everyone sees her work in the same way. Elon Musk, who recently became the world's first trillionaire, thinks Scott's given is actually making the world worse off. On June 27, PBD, a major viral media and social news brand, posted on X that Scott's giving $26.3 billion in donations has made her one of the biggest individual donors in history. The ex-wife of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, mega donor, then an account with 22,500 followers with the name of Friendly Officer, this is Yahoo Finance, whose bio describes as heterosexual alpha male, replied to PBD post about Scott saying, unfortunately, she's spending it making the world a worse place. Then Musk responded, agreeing with the statement, sadly. Yes, Musk is fresh off losing his history-making trillionaire status and is still comfortably the world's most richest man in the world, yet he's been outspoken about how supposedly hard philanthropic giving is after securing his $1 trillion pay package from Tesla in late 2025. He said philanthropy is difficult. I agree with love of humanity, and I think we should try to do things that help our fellow human beings. He told in an interview, he says, but it's very hard. He explained that he thinks it's simply challenging to give away money well. The biggest challenge I find with my foundation is trying to give away money in a way that is truly beneficial to people. It's very easy to give money away to get appearance of goodness. It is very difficult to give money away for the reality of goodness. Very difficult. Very good breakdown. Tom, your thoughts on the story?
Well, I completely agree with that. It's, you know, my giving. I find it very, very difficult to ensure that the dollars go where they say. I mean, right now, there are, and I can show you the watch lists. There are things out there where they're cautioning people about organizations that really aren't helping Venezuela. And I'm going back and forth on my neck. Where a guy said, I'm trying to help my grandmother. Do you know any of the relief agencies? Do you guys trust any of them? My family can't get to her. We can't fly to her. And we want to somehow get relief to her, but we've done research and we can't find the good agencies or someone doing it. We've been warned off of the ones we found. So there's a perfect example. Now take the organized crime of, charities where you can find these charity watch groups, Pat, that find out that 80% of a donation gets tied up in administration and running and the marketing of the charity, and 20 cents on the dollar actually gets to save the whales. It's horrible. And so what I look at from what Elon Musk just said, the appearance of goodness is easy. Go to a dinner, stand in front of a logo sheet, and then take your picture. But getting actual goodness to help people that are truly in need, that you wanted to help them with something, is very, very, very difficult. I mean, even Oprah tried to do the whole school in Africa, and no one wants to talk about it, but she was kind of not as sharp about how it was done. And there were people there that kind of took advantage of the situation, and the school went broke. It didn't work. You see this?
Yeah.
The school didn't work. So you even have someone like Oprah who maybe really wanted to do something for a girls' school or whatever it was in Africa, and then the whole thing falls on its head. Excuse me. Was it? It was Gates. Wasn't Gates did the computer labs at public schools in the United States, and those failed. So it's very, very hard to get the traction done to have something sustainable.
Yeah. Let me just read this, and I'm going to give you a book recommendation. Number one, $275 million of our money went to Planned Parenthood. There you go. That's all you need to know. We don't even need to go to the rest. $51 million went to the Trevor Project for the LGBTQ youth. Okay? Transgender youth. $1.2 billion for racial equity education.
Big one.
Wow. $586 million to racial justice groups, including Movement for Black Lives. $163 million to LGBTQ organizations, including Transgender Law Center. $133 million to gender equity. $125 million to climate change. $200 million to open border immigration groups.
Crazy.
Are you kidding me?
Well, this isn't charity; it's political donation.
Of course it is.
I mean,
Of course it is.
So she gets to call it charity and look like she's helping society, but
This is not. Elon, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's political activism. I do think it's very, very, very hard to, as you scale up a charity, to make a measurable difference. I do think in cases like this, it's just a loophole to fund these organizations that then go and affect social policy, social engineer our society. So I think that's the exact.
You see a pattern with these mega billionaire founders who die or get a divorce, and where their wives, what the wives do with the money. The same thing was with Steve Jobs' wife. With a wife, she did the same thing, where the money went to. When you go and see where some of this money went to, it goes to same type of organizations. The people who didn't build it
Because they're ideological.
end up giving the money to organizations that are all this leftist organizations.
you know where that money didn't go? Why didn't she want to pay taxes?
Well, that's the loophole here.
Right?
You
I mean,
get to put the money
why-
toward
I
charity
thought
as a
taxes
tax
were a
write-off.
good thing, right? That's what we're told. Billionaires should pay taxes, and here she is using a tax loophole to avoid paying taxes.
I think the only way to scale up something like this is to have your own foundation, have a lot of oversight. There's just so much room for abuse when you're growing a charity. But yeah, again, this is obviously
You're
not-
assuming that she wants to do it honestly.
No, that's
right?
what I'm saying. If you did, theoretically, you,
Right.
you really, really got to start small. It's much easier to function charitably on a small level, impact personal people's lives. I think things like GoFundMe are even ripe with abuse, unfortunately. It's so tricky now.
But even people who do have an honest want to help people out. I mean, look at what happens with homeless or drug abuse. You throw tons and tons of money at it to people who really want to do something about homelessness, and all it does is make the problem even bigger. I think that's what Elon Musk was getting at. The idea that we throw money at things without trying to evaluate whether or not it's working, simply because we're trying to reward the emotional status of the donor herself in this case.
Yeah, it's like $1 trillion a year. We looked at that when what was the name of that organization that was doing the international operations that Elon Musk started poking at before? Like, there's a whole ecosystem of money that's essentially invisible that funds things like protests and fake psyops. So it's a huge political mechanism to like kind of shape like how society thinks and like shape the results on the ground. So I think it's by design. It's very invisible, but it's like the primary way to launder money.
Yeah, let me give you, tell me if you see a pattern here. These are the biggest donors, women, of all time to charity. Ready? MacKenzie Scott, 26 plus billion. Notice if there's a pattern. Melinda Gates, 15 to 18 billion. Joan Kroc. Then you got Lauren Powell Jobs, Steve Jobs' ex. Right, it's not ex, Steve Jobs' widow. $5 billion pledged, right? What do you notice there? Patterns, Melinda Gates, MacKenzie Scott. So, I don't know. Look, people can do whatever they want with their money. My thing is always, what am I going to do? What are you going to do? This is their money. They can do whatever the hell they want to do with their money. And the current system, it tells me you need a prenup and a real prenup. It tells me you need to really get serious about a prenup. Number two, it tells me go read the book Leaving a Legacy by Jonathan Kurtz. If you haven't yet, it's 160 pages. It tells you how the founder of Ford, how furious he was, Henry Ford, with creating a charity and handing it over to his friends and family, and what it did, devastating what ended up happening to the money. If you've never read this, go read the book. Go on Amazon and order this book. Call your lawyer, get a prenup or a postnuptial setup in place, and explain why. And if somebody you want to get married to, you have money that you've made, if they don't agree to it, don't get married.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, don't get married and move to a friendlier state. It's a very weird time when you're going out there building everything with your family and, everything you got going on. And then one day something like this happens and you got to give this money and that money. No, I think you got, and by the way, the same thing applies with kids. If you have we had Morgan and Morgan on, John Morgan, funny guy. He was on and he says, in our family, he has 4 kids, 3 or 4 kids. I don't know. Can you go to see how many kids he has? He has a lot of kids. Just go down on his, guys, you just got to go lower one. Yeah, 4 kids. So he says, whenever in our family, if any of my kids gets married to anybody, guess what that person's spouse needs? A nuptial agreement in the specific way that we like it. If they don't, it's okay, but you get nothing from the trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the wife says, I don't want to do it, don't worry about it, sweetheart. It's okay. Son, you're out of the trust. It's very simple. We're not going to have this thing set up. We worked our tails off to create this wealth. You got to protect it. It's very important to be able to protect it. It's a long clip, but we'll get to the next one. All right. By the way, sometimes this story, people are like, oh, my God, it's so heartless. It's so heartless. You must listen to Kanye. Heartless. It's heartless when you do something like this. You know what's heartless? You want me to tell you how many thousands of stories I know of men that worked their tails off to build a business and they were taking for everything they had?
Yeah.
Everything they had, and then they have nothing? And they're sitting there and they work their asses off in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and then this happens? Did you see the story of baby boomers right now are the biggest category of divorces, up 40%? 40% of divorces right now in America are baby boomers. Did you know this?
I did not.
I'm sorry, 40% of divorces right now in America are over 50 years old.
And it tripled among 65-year-olds and over.
It tripled in baby boomers category. So why are boomers getting a divorce? Think about that. Why are boomers, Tom, why are boomers getting divorced? Huh? Why are boomers getting so many divorces?
Well, to be honest with you, I think there's a correlation. This is my unscientific observation.
Here we go.
But you take no. Think about this. I'm not making a joke here. Take a look at the number of women 40 to 50 years old that have flipped liberal over the last 15 years. Look at all of the polling and statistics that are out there. I think there's contention that is happening as the boomers age, and I think there are ideological splits that are happening. I think that's part of it.
Tom, it sounds like you're blaming Trump.
Because you look at it and you say, wait a minute, if this percent of women 40 to 50 years old have moved to the left and are doing this, are all of them single? Are all of them single and angry? Or are some of them married? And what does that do to the relationship? So that's my unscientific observation, Pat.
I have a different theory.
Go ahead.
And totally just spitball and speculation. Maybe it's because, once the kids are out of the house, some people are like, man, I really don't like you. We were just together for them. And they're jumping out because of that.
Yeah, but you'll see them. You wouldn't see a triple digit. You wouldn't see a triple jump among 65 and older. I think it's becoming more socially acceptable, number one, to get divorced. I think also, I always talk about it, we're stepping away from God as a society. So working at things is not a necessity anymore, right? You don't have that quality that you apply to the relationship. And I think church holds relationships together. And if you're not working on your relationship, and everything in society now is starting to bleed upward, meaning young people are being told, look at your phone, you get whatever you want, immediate, gratification. And that's slowly bleeding into older people, and they're starting to say, I don't want to put in the work
I think
anymore.
it's lack of support structure. Outside of the church, we've become atomized because we're all off in our individual things, whether it be social media, getting involved in the screen. You don't have the same sort of support structure, and that includes family, too. We move away from our families. We don't have an immediate support structure from your family or neighbors. We completely disconnected from our neighbors, too. So it's much easier. And I think, Tom, I agree with you, too, because something has definitely changed in political discourse. For many years, you would be able to have decent, disagreements, even with your spouse, deep disagreements, but at least came from everything from the same perspective. But over the last, 20 years, certainly in the age of Trump, this attitude has taken hold, whereas you're a Trump supporter, I can't be near you.
Yeah. And look, common values. I would, my sister and my brother-in-law, when they got married, my sister's Christian, he was Baha'i.
Mm-hmm.
And Baha'i is, I don't know if you're familiar with Baha'i or not.
I just saw a video on it like 2 days ago.
On Baha'i. Okay,
on
great.
YouTube,
So Baha'i, great family. The wedding, they have 2 services. So they did a Christian service and they did a Baha'i service at their wedding. We're like, whoa. But guess what? Even though it was Baha'i and Christian, the values was similar. Now, my mother and my dad got married. They're both Christians. But my mom's family communist, my dad's family imperialist. They married and divorced each other twice. Obviously, eventually, Siamak, who was Baha'i, he's now Christian, devout Christian. They've been married 20 plus years. Beautiful family. They've done great work. So values matters. Very important when you marry someone. I was dating a girl. I really liked this girl. And we were together. So one time I took her to a Billy Graham. He was in Pasadena. If you look up Billy Graham Pasadena, November 2003. Let me see if I get the dates right. I may be off by a year or two. I think November, Billy Graham Pasadena, November Rose Bowl, okay? 2003. Put 2003. See if I get the date right or off. Oh, I was right. Okay, 2004. So Rose Bowl, Pasadena, November of 2004, Billy Graham comes to preach. I go every day except for one day. I take this girl with me because she was a Muslim. I take this girl with me, and we're there every day, and I'm like, what do you think about it? No. What do you think about it? No. She was a gymnast. We got along funny as hell. Then I said, so let's talk politics. At that time, it was John Kerry and Bush. That's what was going on a little bit afterwards. And she was a full-on UNICEF liberal, all that. And I said, listen, I'm just telling you, there is no way, as much as we have fun, there's no way this is going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
No way. I'm not going to raise my kid in UNICEF and Planned Parenthood and all this nonsense. As much as we have fun together, it's not going to work. You got to get the values and principles in place. And I'll tell you this last story. Onassis was always attracted to Jackie O. When John F. Kennedy got assassinated and killed, Jackie O used to go visit Onassis because when John F. Kennedy would do stuff, Jackie O would go and visit Onassis. That was her way of getting back. when their son, I think, did they have a son named Patrick that was killed or that died? Did John F. Kennedy and
Yes.
Jack, you have a son named Patrick that died? I don't know why I
Yeah,
remember
Yeah, he
that.
died when
first one.
he was an infant and died while he was president.
She was devastated when this happened. Devastated. And allegedly, she went to visit Onassis in Europe, allegedly, with a relative, and she was on his yacht, allegedly. But after, everybody was like, oh, that's not what happened, all this stuff. Well, guess what? It ended up being true because right after the death, she marries Onassis. When they get married in the prenuptial agreement, you know what was in the prenuptial agreement? I think you can find these details somewhere. Some number of saying, for every year we're married, you owe me $10 million. I think they were together for I don't know how many years. So 7 years, $70 million. 8 years. Believe it or not, I actually like that system. I actually like it. You know why? Because it's black and white. No problem. If it's 2 years, 20 million, we're good to go. At least I know within 2 years to cut it loose and, move on. And it's only cost me $20 million. And Onassis was a billionaire playboy. So you have to be very, very intentional with that. You have to have the right values and principles in place. And be careful of getting some bad influences in your life. You are one bad influence from destroying your life.
Oh, yeah.
And bad influences are the funnest people typically. Just keep that in mind. Bad influences are a lot more fun than good influences. Good influences are boring. Bad influences, they're freaking a blast, right? They come into your life, you're like, oh my God, I'm having so much fun with this crazy guy or crazy girl. And then boom, divorce, drugs, alcohol, DUI, you lost everything. So be careful with that as well. All right, let's get to the next story. Next one I want to get to is, why do you keep getting rejected from your job? This is a Forbes story. Why are people keep getting rejected from their jobs? What page is that? Page 12 or 13? I think I'm mixing up these pages.
I think it's main 12.
Main 12? Okay, there you go. Why you keep getting rejected from your jobs. Forbes story, page 12. Let's go to it. Here we go. So, people are like, man, I'm having a hard time with these companies hiring me. Why is that? Repeated job rejection is commonly in today's competitive hiring market and rarely reflects a lack of talent. Surveys show many job seekers spend more than a year searching, while ghost jobs remain widespread, and which one analysis finding about 1 in 7 listings are fake. Wow, really? AI also has become a major gatekeeper, with 65% of HR professionals saying it automatically rejects applicants before human review. Why your job application is getting rejected? One of the biggest mistakes is sending the same resume everywhere instead of tailoring it to each role and company. Applying too late also hurts, as recruiters often review candidates on a rolling basis. A weak or inconsistent online presence can be another red flag, as employers increasingly use social media to evaluate whether candidates' professional image matches their qualities or not, qualifications or not. Why you are not advancing to the next interview. Candidates also fail by relying on improvising instead of preparation. Employers want clear evidence of why someone wants the role, how they will add value, measurable results from previous work. Strong communication also matters. Specific accomplishments backed by numbers are more persuasive than vague descriptions. Sometimes rejection simply comes down to cultural fit, making it important to research a company's values, employees' reviews, and workplace culture before applying. And last but not least, how to improve your chance of landing a job. Referral remains one of the most effective ways to stand out, because employers trust recommendations from existing employees and want to reduce hiring risk. Networking, speaking with the current or former employees, understanding the company's needs, and tailoring both your application and interview around those needs can significantly improve your chances. Very interesting. Tom, how do you process this information?
Well, first of all, 2 things come to mind: common sense and social skills. You know what? When I was younger, and even 15 years ago, it was very common sense. I got to go find a couple things out about this company. I'm going to be interviewing with a thing. You have friends say that to me all the time, going back when I was in school and stuff. I got to learn a little bit about this company. I'm going to be interviewing this kind of a job. I don't know very much about it. Well, today, kids are stuck in this digital experience. They have no social skills, Pat. They're lacking social skills. And the thing that stood out in this article, improvisation, in other words, winging it, versus preparation. Preparing to present yourself to answer questions, preparing to answer questions, related to the job you're actually applying for, and then knowing a little bit about the company. All of that seems like common sense, but it's not happening. And you can see article upon article saying that that students are coming out of high school, coming out of college, completely unprepared to get away from social media and have a social discussion with something. Hello, Mr. Bet David. It's very nice to meet you. I looked up a little bit about David Consulting. I think this is very, very interesting. I saw that you did this conference. And so when I saw the thing come up for a marketing position, I was very interested in that. As you see, I had an internship last summer. You don't get that. You don't get a simple introduction that says, and by the way, very few words, just nice to meet you. I looked up the company. This is why I'm interested. I'm in this. That's the number one for me. Is that the common sense isn't there in the applicant pool.
I've just noticed in general in customer service and just my experiences of things getting done, there's been a major decline in people's ability to communicate. Scary decline. Like they feel entitled when they're doing their job to like just be rude to you. This does remind me of acting. I'm going to draw a weird parallel. When you're auditioning, you're like the one person who's trying to get the job out of thousands of people who want it, and you have to find a way to stand out. I don't know if people are, and you have to understand these people who are looking at your resume and they're looking at your job application, they see thousands, and they're now using AI to narrow that down, and then they're looking at the best people in that. You have to find a way to stand out and be unique and give some kind of value beyond just what's on the paper. I don't know if that's being taught to kids in university. I don't know if they're being taught on how to have these conversations, like Tom said, and how to stand out, how to really be the person who's going to provide value to the company. I also just think in general for anyone, get good with AI. It'll just learn to use AI as a tool. Come into any interview.
On this.
What's that?
I got some thoughts on this. Yeah. Learn to use AI in interviews. I agree. And by the way, some of these companies, like for us, if you go to vt.com/careers, we got a bunch of job openings all the time, right? We hired, 4 or 5 big jobs this week, Tom. Is it big jobs? These are
definitely.
These are not like
director and up
6-figure jobs. These are director, VP type of jobs this week. And if you go there, if you don't do an AI interview with us, we don't look at your resume because we get thousands of resumes. So AI interview bumps you up immediately because the report comes and says this is a fit culturally, skills, experience. We get a score that comes into us. And you need to kind of find out what's going on, then follow up with an email. So let's just say I just did the AI interview. I would send a follow-up email and say, hey, just did the interview. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm really interested in the job. There's many ways of doing it. I got a bunch of stories to give you here. Aaron Mont is one of our managers at our firm, makes nearly $1 million a year on the consulting side, does very well for himself. He came to a Vol conference 4 years ago. After the Vol conference, he sends me a connect. He says, look, here's what I realized. I'd like to work for Valuetainment. Comes through. MBA, stud, competitive sports athlete, comes on board, does very well with us. You came to us when you were creating content. You had a YouTube channel with 40, 50,000 subs. Mm-hmm. Your background is national security, bachelor's national security, a master's in national security. You came through and you took any job to come in. You just kind of wanted to get in here. And then now you're on the consulting side, very different. Our director of studio, Justin, I don't know if Justin's in the room or not. Let me give him a quick shout out. He's not. So Justin, one day we're doing an event at our boardroom cigar lounge, and I'm there. He comes in, good-looking Japanese German. This guy looks like a freaking model. He's like one of those guys that's a little too attractive. Like he belongs in Hollywood, right? You know what I'm talking about, with the perfect hair, perfect eyes. Everything is just, he looks Hollywood, right? He says, for 12 years I was at CBS working on Gayle King, a show. I don't know which show it was. He says, the entire time I've been wanting to work at Valuetainment, I moved to Fort Lauderdale just so I can work at Valuetainment. We didn't hire him right off the bat. It took us 6 months. He ended up getting a job. He's been with us a little over a year, maybe almost 2 years with us. Elon, you guys don't even know how Elon and I got connected.
Yeah.
I don't know Elon. Elon sends me a connect. And I said, who are you? He says, I look at his channel. I'm like, wow, this guy's cool. He comes in. We end up having a meeting together at the office. I said, I really like you. Let's entertain you. You went on
Usual Suspects.
Usual Suspects a few times, Unusual Suspects. And then from there, I brought you here. Now you're on the PBD podcast. How much exposure is that getting? But what did you do? You kind of came in, build a relationship. And for me, I have layers of not trusting people because you have to realize companies have a lot of different gatekeepers, but there's many ways to get in. If you go in with just asking for what you want, they're getting hit up by that all the time. It's how can you bring value to them? And I would agree with the part about, human nature, like my kids. If there's one thing I will do with the kids is, my daughter, Senna, every morning she's here at 8 o'clock, 8:30. It's summer vacation, right? She's here every day. What is she doing all day? She's around people. talking to people, roller skating, going around. Dylan comes around. Tico comes around, talks about his horror movies. My daughter. You have to teach your kids to be good with people. You got to put them in environments where they're learning how to be with people and then give them the basic feedback. There's so many 24-year-old adults that still don't have any people skills. By the way, there's online courses nowadays that you can get. There's online courses on how to communicate. There's online courses on how to have better mannerisms. I remember when the first time I was giving a speech at an event, Sizzlers in, what is that city? Not Inglewood. What's the city next to Inglewood? Compton. I was at Compton Sizzlers where Magic Johnson owned the theater, and I'm giving a speech, and this man named Brian Heflin is bringing me up, and I am like nervous. I've never given a talk. I'm good in small. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm in front of a mirror with watching TV, a guy's giving speech, and he's talking. I'm trying to mimic mannerisms. I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? And then you're like, oh, I got to learn how to tell a story. So what's the easiest thing? Get up there. I don't know what to say. 2 to 3 points and tell 2 stories. So got up. Hey, I got 3 things I want to share with you. 1, boom, let me tell you a story. 2, boom, let me tell you a story. 3, boom, let me tell you a story. Read the book, How to Master the Art of Public Speaking by Dale Carnegie, written 100 years ago. Go pick up some of these books. Go buy the book TED Talks on how to be a better TED Talk speaker. We need to teach our people how to communicate. The more we go to AI, you're going to see human beings are going to make a comeback. There's a reason why this story here of Ford, what page is that Ford story, Brandon? Do you remember what? Look at this. Ford is rehiring human engineers after AI fails to match quality checks. What? This is a BBC story. By the way, this is a good story for Team Human. Man, we're making a comeback. They're not going to ship us out. Okay, they're not going to ship us out. And PBD Podcast is ran by, hi, this is Patrick Bet-David. Today, I'm going to talk to Jeff Snyder. Hey, today, Tom Ellsworth. No, it ain't going to happen. Humans are protected. Ford's realizing it. Let me read this to you. Ford says it has hired some human engineers. Can you imagine? We have to say human engineers. Just say engineers. We used to just say human engineers, just engineers. After AI failed to match their skill and experience in a bid to reap the benefits of the tech, which developers claim can cut costs and boost productivity, the U.S. carmaker adopted it across some parts of its operators, including for quality checks. But according to Bloomberg, its executive said the firm has rehired more than 300 veteran quality inspectors in recent, that's good, years to make up for the pitfalls of the automated systems. Team Human, baby. We're making a comeback. We're making a comeback. AI is a fantastic tool, but it is only as good as the information you can train it. Charles Poon, VP of Vehicle Hardware Engineering, told reporters over prior years we didn't pay as much attention as we should have to the experience of our most knowledgeable engineers that have been with us through many product cycles. The U.S. automaker is among to have seized on the buzz around AI, particularly amid Wall Street's fervor around the tech's potential to increase margins. AI will leave a lot of white-collar people behind. Ford's boss, Jim Farley, great name, said in an interview with author Walter Isaacson last June. In an October earnings calls, Chief Operating Officer Kumar said the firm was deploying AI across the entire industrial platform. This included rolling out 900 AI-powered cameras in its plans to detect quality issues. But Poon told reporters on Wednesday the firm's AI-driven checks had failed to live up to expectations. Mistakenly, we thought that by just introducing AI and ingesting the design requirements that we had, that would produce a high-quality product. Poon reportedly pointed to automated tools lacking the training and experience of a veteran technician, many of whom he said had left the company before their knowledge could be used to improve its tech. Tom, love this story. Your thoughts on this? I'm buying another Ford if they go back to Team Human. I'm telling you.
Exactly. So what happens here is a bad design is a bad design. And if AI has got a bad design or design that's got flaws, it doesn't fix anything. And so that's the point of an engineer. What is an engineer? Engineer is an inventor, a designer, an inventor. And guess what? Some don't work. Then you go into testing. And what this is pointing out is they tried to put it in the quality side of it, but there was we just wanted to ingest this data into quality, and the AI was unable to replicate the human. And so I think what it shows is that this rush to put AI on everything, finishing tasks like this, where you have the physical world, is not happening. I'm seeing more and more feedback and case studies on AI saved me time collecting data, analyzing it, and getting it to a point. Then I used it. So it compressed that part of my workday by giving me, hey, here's an assessment. It's like what is Pomp's thing? CFO Sophia or whatever it is, where it compresses the time to find a list of things that now you need to go take a look at in terms of your budget and stuff. Wow, now I got to go in there. It doesn't do it for you. Now you go in there, you save the hour of compiling it, and now you have a list of things that you're going to go after. And I think that's AI at its best. Here it's just showing that AI is not coming for every job. And I think this is good news. We covered it, and I'll mention it again. The number of software engineer job openings right now is up year over year, and it's not up by a small number, but they're in different places now. They're in DevOps, they're in, quality, and they're in areas where all of this code is getting created. Now we need humans to come out, babysit the code, and look at end products and see how the functionality is. So for all these, you say this company laid off 1,000 software engineers. They're showing up in the one ads to apply their engineering skill in a different way. It's like
there are a lot of things more important in life than making money. And this is coming from a guy that's done pretty okay, and I've made some money, okay? But I tell you, how much fun do you and I have, Tom, when we're with the family in the Hamptons hanging out, or we're somewhere around the world, Italy, or do we think money, or are we just sitting there laughing, enjoying the family's company?
No, we run around outside and find a variety of ways to hurt our
torn ACL. I can't do shit.
I know. We find all kinds of ways to get sunburned and mess up our physical bodies.
But I tell you, you know what it is?
And have fun in the process.
If you gave me $100 billion, but I had to give this up, I would never. Give me $1 trillion, I'll never give it up. Never. Never to sit down and talk to another human being. I look forward to these conversations of us sitting down. I look forward to us sitting down and thinking, what does this human being that has gone through a bunch of shit in his life that we don't know, he's still able to act and look at me as if everything is okay and carry the weight, overcome it, take care of his family, successful guy, drives a nice car, does his part, is smart. I respect the hell out of this human being. What does this guy here, young guy, that is new very early on, he's different than everybody else. Who the hell gives a shit about national security when you're in high school? But he was interested in it. And you have to be called weird your entire life. Now he's sitting here doing, what is this guy that went from being a playboy Hollywood actor, doing all the shit that he's doing, the drugs, the alcohol, one day God gets a hold of him, father, family guy, business owner, fighter, UFC, done movies with Brad Pitt, all this stuff. All the shit he went through, and now he's sitting here preaching God? Are you kidding me? This is priceless. This is it. Of course we use AI. Of course we use ChatGPT. Of course we use all these different language learning models. None of it will replace the idea of doing something big together with human beings. Doing the impossible with AI, you ain't doing the impossible. Doing the impossible with other human beings, when you watch Elon and his team at SpaceX, when it goes off and you see the euphoric celebration, the tears, the crying, you don't cry with AI. That's a flippin' movie called Her. Shittiest movie I've seen in my life with Joaquin Phoenix, who's one of my favorite guys. You fall in love with AI. No, you fall in love with a human being because you have to persuade them. You have to win them over, and you have to keep them interested. That is hard. You don't need to keep AI interested. You already have them. They're going to do whatever you want them to tell you to do. That's boring. There is no friction. There is no challenge. There is no difficulty. There is no what if they leave, what if heartbreak, what if. There is none of that. You want the possibility of losing somebody. You want the possibility of that. That's what makes this real. That's what makes it exciting. So I love hearing these stories. Can you go back? I don't want to even look at this movie, Her, the worst movies I've seen in my life. Look at Klarna, what happened to these companies. Replace much of its customer support with AI. What did they happen? They reversed it. Why? Customer satisfaction and service quality suffered on more complex issues. The CEO and customers still wanted access to real people. Ford Motor Company, we just rehired 350 people. Why? They screwed up. They need those people. They need those people. Duolingo announced an AI-first strategy, then softened its position and increased human development. How the hell are you going to go AI first when you need people to use Duolingo? What a dumb strategy. Hey, guess what? We don't need you guys to work here. We just need the customers because you're not that important. But no, oh shit, we're Team Human. We're so sorry because without these Team Human, if AI was learning a language, AI doesn't need Duolingo to learn a language. AI already speaks every language. Your customers are people. These companies that went full on, you know, like the movie, the epic documentary / movie. What do you call that movie? Tropic Thunder. You never go full retard. You just don't do it.
I love that movie.
You
Never
don't
go
do
full
that.
AI.
You never go full AI.
Don't you know you
don't do it for 400 years, right? You don't do it. If you've seen Tropic Thunder, you know the line for 400 years. What do you mean, you people?
You people.
Yeah. So, anyways, I love this story. Elon, do you have any thoughts on this one here yourself?
Yeah, I think what you're touching on is that community for humans is so important, and it's actually one of the determining factors for how long we live. When we lose social communities and social interaction, we actually pass away much younger. I do think there's two conversations about AI. There's AI today and AI in the future, and if you want to make yourself valuable today, I think we're in a place where you can integrate AI into what you're doing to produce more value. I don't know where AI will take us in the future, but I do hope, I pray that there will be this renaissance, this evolution where mankind just learns to appreciate the human experience. AI takes care of a lot of the stuff we don't want to do. This is like an optimistic kind of outlook, and we just get to deep dive into what the human spirit is really about and really explore that. And an age of enlightenment through AI.
You know what it is the honeymoon period is starting to end. Right? Because AI was, we had Elon Musk talking about the singularity and, some doomsayer saying it's going to replace 50% of jobs. And then suddenly people had to start using AI and realize the limitations there, including what Pat was talking about, the limitations of AI versus humanity. So,
but that's today.
That's
again.
Exactly.
So the conversation
future,
is how does this, does this technology increase linearly or does it increase?
But here's
no, it increases parabolically. But this is no different than any other adoption cycle.
It means nothing. So how much? Okay, if let's just say 100, it's reached its capacity, full potential. Where do you think we are right now?
I think we're in infancy.
I think we're at 5%.
Yeah,
not even
maybe
that. Not half of a percent.
Perfect. Okay, so we're at a 0.5%. But let's take you to 100%. Go to 100%. What does the world look like at 100%?
Star Wars.
Well, the world looks heavily automated. It looks like labor and intelligence don't have the same value because they're no longer scarce.
What do you still need at 100%?
Intelligence still has value, but labor doesn't.
No, I don't think intelligence has value in that world because it depends on what you define as intelligence. Like AGI would be more intelligent than the most intelligent doctor. You would have an abundance of intelligence.
Would it get to a point where having kids would be no value to having kids? Would it ever get to that point?
We will never get
Why
there.
not? Why not?
Because
that's really the question, right? Because if AI eventually gets to a point that I can make all the money in the world, why did people have kids back in the days? Not today, 200 years ago. Why did people have kids?
Labor.
Free
Was
labor.
it labor?
Just so you know, it was labor.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Oh, if you for
any industrial society, wealthy society,
hundreds of years, we had
Yes.
kids to help families' business. It was a replacement game. Do you think we'll ever get to a point that we don't have kids because, hey, AI can do my job, so I don't need to make money, so why am I having kids for? Why would I bring kids in this society? I talked to an Australian economist last week who is the most pessimist economist I've met in my life, which most socialist and communist economists are. And he said to me, I became a pessimist because I learned the facts. I said, if you were 25 today, he's 73 today. I said, if you were 25 today, would you have kids? He says, absolutely not. I said, why? He says, because I know facts, climate change. I would never have kids. So you go to a point of AI really getting to a level of 100. Would we still have kids? If yes, why?
Again, I would. Okay,
What
so
else
we do see a
matters?
decline. We do see a decline in childbirth
In a big way,
Because of
we're at
affordability.
1.58 today. But what if affordability's out?
Which
what
it
if
will-
we're all
which it
making
will
money?
be.
Full
Yeah, no.
automation.
But what if-
it's not
what
even
if
money.
it is
Well,
out?
we do
Why
have-
do you have
affordability
kids?
is not an argument because we're much wealthier society and we have less kids. It's not affordability.
There's a correlation.
The correlation is what Pat said is that large families where first of all you need a lot of kids because quite a few of them died in their younger years, but really it was labor. You needed more labor to work the family farm.
I would say you're going to have kids again because we're going to, hopefully, this is the optimistic outlook, because of this renaissance where the human experience is what is valued. And the human experience is having children, propagating your own species. I just think that we'll have the rest taken care of.
And that's
I think the current direction, okay, in the book, Choose Your Enemies Wisely, I presented a chart to everybody on this thing. I don't know if you've seen this chart or not. The chart is the selfish, selfless score, okay? The selfish, selfless score. Guys, I'm texting it to you if you want to pull it up. I think, Connor, you have it. If you don't have it, I'm just texting it to you right now anyways. If you just pull this up, I just sent the chart to you. If the score goes higher, we have a problem. if the score goes lower, we also have a problem. There needs to be an element of selfishness. People that have a very low selfish score, that's a terrible society because you need to aspire to do something. So like here, this was the chart, the net positive index chart that we put together in the book, Choose Your Enemies Wisely. If you're selfless 0%, you're 100% selfish, you're a criminal, you're a psychopath. If you're 90% selfish, 10% selfless, you're a narcissist. The world revolves around you. If you're 80% selfish, 20%, you're a solopreneur. You just kind of want to make money. You're a laptop entrepreneur. If you're 70-30, you're a kingmaker. You're a driver. If you're 60-40, you're a synergist. You bring people together. If you're 50-50, you're an advisor. You're probably above 65 years old, 70 years old. If you're 40-60, you're a supporting cast. If you're 30-70, you're a passive. You're meek. You're actually not good for any organization. You're 20-80, you're indecisive. You're conforming to everyone. 10-90, you're a weak-willed coward, and 0-100 doesn't exist. So what happens if the selfish score goes higher? It's all based on money. Then what? What if everybody is rich? What if everybody's a millionaire? What if life is all about how much money and everything I do for myself? There's an element of this that we need to think about. Like, it isn't just if AI gets to a point where everything's about there's going to be so much wealth and rich, and is this it? It's not it. There's got to be more to it.
Well, that when you were reading this and what hit me is that an AI future without faith in society is a future that cannot exist.
But faith leads to what though? For me, it's human. It's human. We have to protect the human component of it.
That's why I hate this term intelligence, because intelligence is not just about spitting out data and understanding facts. Intelligence is, there's more layers to it. And I don't think AI ever gets to all of those layers. That's why AI will always be a tool for humanity, because there's some things we just can't describe it. So intelligence is more than just strictly what AI can deliver. And I think that's what's being discovered after this honeymoon process is over. We're starting to use AI and see its limitations. It is not a replacement for human creativity and intelligence, as we maybe more comprehensively understand. It is a tool that humans will learn to adapt and use within their own own processes.
Can you run a poll? Can you run a poll in the back? Here's the poll. Do you think the world would be happier if some sort of a UBI existed that paid everyone $300,000 a year? Okay. You don't need to have a job. You don't need to do anything. AI has done such a good job that financially everybody's taken care of, and you just go live your life. Do you think people would be happier or no? Just run a poll.
Offer a perspective.
And try to write that question a lot shorter. And I gave you a paragraph to try to shorten it. I count on the guys in the back to be able to do it. Go ahead.
So I think the ideal situation is if everybody in society was able to have shelter, food, energy, transportation, and then after that, if you want more, you have to go work for it, because that's where a lot of crime comes from, where people don't know.
I don't think that's okay. So see, to me, when you look at the capitalism concept, it's four things: freedom to buy, freedom to sell, freedom to try, and freedom to fail. You take the last one out, what the hell is the purpose of it? So let me continue. In marriage, divorce is good. There has to be the possibility of a relationship not working out. There has to be the possibility of people not making enough money, because it makes those who do success. There has to be certain people in sports. Ecuador lost yesterday. They played horrible. Mexico crushed. Did you see the celebration in Mexico? Did you see the mourning in Ecuador? It needs to be there. We all go through it. We need to experience public humiliation and embarrassment. It's actually good that we go through it at times. We need to experience loss. Who was it in the Bible that talks about there's a season for mourning? There's a season for, is it Solomon?
It's King Solomon in the book of Ecclesiastes.
Yeah, so the seasons for it. So I'm trying to wonder if people would be happier if everybody's minimum expenses were covered. Would the world be happier?
I think if the things you need to survive were, because I think that obviously after that you go to comparing things like caliber of life, like how much can you do outside of those things? Like, can you do fun, enjoyable, extravagant things? But that's the main reason why people are upset and why people start turning socialist and why crime is committed. So if there was an abundance of wealth created from AI, and we get to the point where those things are so cheap to produce, then what's the downside of just those main things you need to actually live being covered?
Because the expectation will be that more will be covered. It will never be enough. And then And
You think
additionally,
more harm than good, you think?
Yeah.
I think fundamentally the human experience is one that has to come from some degree of real adversity. I think the more we've shown that we delve into comfort, the more two things happen.
More miserable
humans-
people get.
the human spirit tends to decline, and also we tend not to drive ourselves and push ourselves harder. So there's two, like you have the labor death, and then you have the spiritual death that occurs.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go
I
ahead.
always say you see this all the time when people retire. When people retire, they are usually miserable and they end up dying
Very quickly.
very quickly.
But I do think we have to reevaluate the entire, if AI is going to become full automation, if we are going to end up in this place where we have an abundance of everything, the concepts of money no longer have the same value. So we're still thinking about money as it is today. Again, money won't have that value. The UBI becomes somewhat irrelevant when you're provided with food, shelter, the ability to do this. So again, you have to look at what is the purpose and value of human beings and the human experience, and how do we continue and propagate that so that people do.
74% said no, they wouldn't be happier. 26% said they would be happier.
yeah.
With receiving 300?
Whatever. If the living expenses, I think they would be miserable.
Absolutely.
I think a majority would be miserable. There is no purpose in life if you're not overcoming something difficult, challenging. If you take all of that away, the most basic concept of why some people have money is because of what? Resistance, not money, physical, like six-pack or muscle, resistance. You take resistance out, it's not this la-la land with unicorns flying above us and everything is good. I actually think it's a problematic society.
I agree with that. I think you still have. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay.
You still have struggle though if you have those basic things. Like I think you'd still be striving to get the things that everybody else has because there's levels to it.
But just think of what inspires people.
No,
think
the
of if
moment
you're
you
going to
take
watch.
out the minimum, the moment you take out the minimum, you make people like, you know what welfare does to most people?
Oh yeah, terrible things.
You know what SNAP does to most people? You know what unemployment for 24 months when Obama had that and they kept bringing you know what it does to people?
I do. I mean, my parents grew up on welfare, so
It
I know
steals
that
away your dreams.
everything.
Yeah.
Your
It
drive, your
comforts.
ambition, everything.
Gone. The most miserable person I know in my life, whom I won't name, I love this person dearly. The most unhappy, miserable person I know in my life that I love more than words can describe, lived off of entitlements, lived off of everything, and I've never met anybody more unhappy than this human being, whom I love dearly. Whom I love dearly. Entitlement programs stole away her entire dignity. And you see it in her eyes today. And it breaks my heart that this happened. It breaks my heart that this happened. Now, I think if we're constantly trying to make everything easier, I mean, you know, one of the biggest things is when you have a family and you have money, and you have to find ways to make things challenging for your kids because it's so easy for them. You have to find ways where I'm like, I'll tell my wife, say, babe, why are you making it easy? No, don't make it easy. Make it harder. Why? They have a very good life. We're stealing things away from them if we make everything easy for them. No. But you think they do legs and you think they read books and yes. And you think that, yes. Why? What do? When we had nothing, we had a hard life. We have to find a way to provide difficulty and challenges for them. And so I know the average person will watch and say, you know what, you're so disconnected from real life. And if there's anybody that's not disconnected from real life, man, I've built a business and I failed miserably and I came up and I came from a life of having nothing. Nothing. And if you take that away, you don't know who I am. You literally won't know who I am. You won't know who I am right now. I would just be a guy walking down the street. You're like, oh, there goes a Middle Eastern. Why is he so tall? That's what you would say. Okay? Because that's what most people say. Wow. I remember one time this 7-year-old lady, I'm giving a talk, she comes up to me. She says, did you say you're Iranian and Armenian and what was the last one, Sicilian? No, ma'am, Assyrian. Yeah. Why are you so tall? I said, ma'am, because I was breastfed till 17 years old. And she says,
That's the secret.
seriously? I said, that's a Middle Eastern culture. I was breastfed till 17. Her husband's like, honey, he's messing with you. No man is breastfed till 17 years old. Anyways, let's get to the next story. We got a couple more before we wrap up. This conversation can go for hours at a good dinner, but we got other stories to go through with the guys that we have here. Talking about Kalshi. Look at Kalshi. Kalshi gets a $20 million deal with the World Cup. Are you kidding me? That's amazing. And there are talks about this company is now going to be a $40 billion company. They just got a valuation about a year ago at $11 billion. $40 billion a year later? What is going on with this? And by the way, most of these campaigns you're looking at of people running for office, they're frightened. People in politics are frightened by companies like Kalshi because they don't need polls anymore. Why do I need polls? We have a gubernatorial debate that we're running tomorrow with, James Fishback, Paul Renner, and Collins, that they're going to be the Lieutenant Governor Collins. We're hosting it tomorrow night at 6 p.m. live. Those of you guys that are members of the Cigar Lounge, a lot of you guys will be there, and each camp's going to have their own. That's going to be run in a very different way. We're going to have some fun together. But guess what everyone's looking at? Kalshi. Kalshi, they're looking at these reports, and now Kalshi's getting $20 million with the World Cup. Tom, how big of a deal is this for Kalshi?
It's huge. We know some of these guys. We've been approached, and we've met a lot of people that are in the prediction markets and everything. And we've also heard from Washington what they want to do is just making more betting. But what Kalshi just pulled off, this is just smart business. At the beginning of the World Cup offered, I think it was $150 million to be part of the rotating ads that are on the 3-foot-high video boards that circle the actual out of bounds of the soccer pitch. And they didn't do it. And now we're coming up into here, and the World Cup is discovering that some of the rate cards that they had, Pat, were a little expensive. And Kalshi's like, well, maybe I'll do it for like 20. And here it is, headline news that Kalshi's got sponsorship as we go into knockout, and they get it at a deep discount. Well, guess what? Sometimes it's good business. Sometimes you just wait and you do it. And what's interesting about Kalshi and what Pat was just talking about on the polling, when you say to them, who are you voting for? Damn it, I'm voting for Kamala Harris. That is different from saying, hey, who do you think's going to win, and are you willing to put $5 on it? Mm-hmm. And then they say, well, I'm here in Los Angeles, California, and there's no freaking way Trump's going to win. If you want me to put $5, I will predict that Kamala will carry California. I don't want her to be president, but she'll carry. That is a prediction market. And the prediction markets have proven to be more accurate than polls. And so guess what? That's why the candidates go out there and they say, hey, prediction market shouldn't do this, do that. What, really? A voice of truth that's independent based on what the citizens think? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't want that? You'd rather to have your poll on ABC and spin it the way you want? Of course you would.
By the way, you know this originally was a $150 million ask.
That's exactly right.
The $150 million ask,
waited.
87% discount. They waited, and it's only going to be elimination round, not the whole thing. So who wins here? Who wins here between the two? If you have to give 60-40, 70-30, is it more Kalshi or is it more FIFA?
Well, I think it's probably 70 for Kalshi for a good business decision. But FIFA does win something because they wouldn't have had anything. Now
they don't do it. So
now they're going to get a little
bucks.
bit more.
Yeah, the game's changed.
Yeah, $20 million. I love the explosion of predictive markets. And as they continue to grow, they're going to become more accurate in their predictions. So I think, the higher a pool of people you have involved. I think Tom said it perfectly. The fact that people are putting money down on what they expect to happen is far more effective than just calling someone up and being like, hey, well, who are you voting for? What are you going to do in this situation? And I do think super smart business decision to help mainstream predictive markets. A lot of people don't know about them yet as much as we're talking about it. And it's in our world. There's a lot of people you talk to and you go, hey, do you know what Kalshi is? They're like, I have no idea. This really, really helps bring it mainstream for an inexpensive amount.
It's always better to have a skin in the game. There was always more accurate information when people have to have a downside. And so that's the positive. And you're exactly right. That was the point, is that people don't know what Kalshi is. And they've Kalshi to a certain extent, not that it's their fault, but they've allowed them the narrative about Kalshi to be dictated from Washington. Mm-hmm. It's, this is more gambling, this is more problems. And it's really what Tom said, better information. It's not quite mature yet, but there's a better source of information here.
Yeah, think about how things used to be decided between whether it's gambling gambling on sports games. Who would be in charge of the odds for that? Like, it's some guy in Vegas who's calling somebody who works for a team saying like, oh yeah, what's this and this looking like, versus like the full market, putting their money on the line to say what they think it's gonna be. And then polls too. It's like some guys who work at a newspaper putting polls together based on what they did in like a small survey in the field somewhere. So yeah, great innovation. Love it for the political side and for the sports odds side.
In Vegas, the house is trying to handicap choice because the house wants to win. Mm-hmm. Kalshi's just making a playing field for you and me to go in there, and just like eBay, they take a percent of what the public is in there doing from this side and that side. And you know what I think is also really interesting? I'm looking forward to when things like Kalshi come out with like index markets. So suddenly you can get like ETF type things or like power indexes, because if you take a careful look, you can go into Kalshi any given day and just get like 5 or 6 different markets are created there on what's going to happen for the Democrat candidate or Republican candidate. And so you get these perspectives. Here's one with $200 million on it for who's going to be the Democrat candidate. And then here's one with $1.5 million on it just on the wild card candidates. And so suddenly you can look at all that and it's like, what if you could put all that together and have like a, like an ETF, like to have the Dow.
Yeah, by the way, there's so many. Here's the thing. If you think about Kalshi, there's going to be others that are going to try to compete. But Kalshi is becoming a main name right now because regulatory in America, they're not screwing up. A couple of these other guys are screwing up. They're good. What's Kalshi's potential, Tom, on valuation? Can Kalshi be a $500 billion company? Can Kalshi get to numbers like that?
Oh, absolutely. Because I think we've only begun to see what's going to happen in prediction markets, on discrete prediction markets. What if we could thread them all together? And I'll give you an example. What did Real Clear Politics try to do? They try to take all the polls together and thread them together. What's the flaw in that? One poll was 6 months ago, or 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks, 4 weeks, and since then, some candidate has been exposed for, some terrible thing he did in high school or college or whatever. So those first 2 polls don't matter. But still, guess what? Real Clear Politics is still trying to thread all those polls together. But this happens in real time, and you can see you'll see the public moving. I can't wait till they get to power indexes and threading. What I call it threading, where you put things together and like the pot of chili, and instead of having to guess, which is what the polls do when they put polls together. They have to guess about the hybridization. No, this hybridization happens in real time as the consumers are like, whoa, you can see, and you'll see it moving like an index. We've been watching things. We've been watching like Ossoff from Georgia slowly come up, and he's in front of AOC. Certain part of the mainstream media don't want to talk about that. But there's over $100 million of citizens that are in there that are saying, we think this guy's above.
Yeah. I mean, it is not going away. I like it. I lean towards what it says many times when I'll take a look at it. But let me get to this next story. Citizen Vigilante. There's a clip by Citizen Vigilante, a guy who produced the movie, Uwe Boll. And I send this clip to you guys if you have it. In this clip, if you look at it, he's being asked, why is this movie doing so well? In the story, if you check your text, you'll see it. In the story, he says why he thinks this movie is doing very well. I think Uwe is from Germany himself. I watched it 2 times already in the last 4 days because I'm trying to see why is this movie getting so much traction. I know Elon watched it yesterday. He hated it, but let me read it to you. The film Citizen Vigilante is presented as an unapologetic rejection of globalism, mass migration, Islamic extremism, this is a zero-hedge story, and woke politics. It condemns politicians, judges, NGOs, and law enforcement for failing to protect its citizens from crimes committed by some immigrants, arguing that denying justice inevitably breeds vengeance. The opening declares, when justice is denied, instincts turn to vengeance, framing the story as a warning that government sacrificing public safety risks provoking a popular revolt. My concern, if you look at clips all over the place, I sent a video yesterday. In Mexico, an independent citizen vigilante has already come out, and he's going around, catching robbers. I don't know if you guys saw that story or not with this guy. He's literally going around catching robbers.
Mexican Batman.
Batman. You saw that with the Mexican Batman? Yeah, this guy.
Wow.
So Mexican. This is everywhere. In Germany, it's happening all over the place. And this movie is banned in Germany and many other countries. But it's number 1 on Amazon and it's number 1 on Apple. And it's one of the worst produced movies. Small budget. Looks like it's less than $1 million bucks, like you and I could produce it, right? But I want you to see Uwe Boll, who is willing to take the risk of doing something like this, and hear his argument. He's saying this would have been a very different story if they were Nazis. Let him describe it to you, and you make your decision if you agree with this or not. And then, Ilan, I'm coming to you next. Go forward.
Es wird verzweifelt versucht, quasi die
Oh, you got to be kidding me. There's no translation here? Okay, go back to it. Okay, it was like that commercial of Hitler. Go back to it. Go back to the tweet. I'll just read it to it. If it were 6 neo-Nazis raping a migrant woman in the film, it would have been the opening film of Berlinale. Okay, and by the way, he's not wrong, but because the story is different, and the 6 raping in this movie are majority Muslims, with this 14, 15-year-old that he comes in and he takes his family out, and the sister protected it. It's a very dark movie. Do not watch it with your kids. Very dark movie. Your thoughts on this movie, Ilan?
So I think he touches on something that a lot of us are feeling. Every time I open my phone, there's new information about mass rape gangs in Europe. I see people being stabbed in the neck, exactly like how the film opens. Just tragedy after tragedy, driven by this ideology that he's very much targeting. And a lot of the time, it's not that the law just ignores it. The law helped cover it up in many of these cases. So you have a mass amount of people worldwide. We saw it in the United States also with the person who was let out of jail who stabbed the woman in the neck on the bus. There's all these cases. So there's an emotional background here that all of us connect to. On that end, kudos to him. He tapped into something that is very deep that's going on right now that got a very strong response. Objectively, the movie is terrible. It is not shot well. The characters' motivations don't make sense. He randomly does. I don't want to give spoilers, so I'm not going to say things. He has no background. And a movie still has to be a film. It still has to make sense and be done well, in my opinion, for it to have value. But again, he's getting away with so much because I want to support him because the message of bringing attention to what's going on right now with all this violence in the world, I very much agree with. Another interesting thing that's important to touch on is there's 2 parallel kind of film industries that now exist. There's the mainstream Hollywood film industry, and there's this new distribution model, which we're seeing now with films like this, where if you touch on something controversial, you can blow up. We saw it with Obsession, filmed for $750,000, making hundreds of millions of dollars. So there's this parallel film economy. I'm very proud of that. It's going to give independent filmmakers a large opportunity. But again, I just can't get behind the movie. Also, one last thing, Armie Hammer. Super cool to randomly see Armie Hammer pop up after the guy was... Listen, I don't know what's true and what's not true with Armie Hammer, but his background story of the text...
It's pretty dark.
Yeah,
it's pretty dark.
It's pretty crazy.
On what he's got. Anyways, you guys haven't seen it. When you do see it, you'll see. You'll have a lot of thoughts. It's going to really tap into some crazy, dark emotions. Let me wrap up with this last story. LeBron James announced he's leaving the Lakers minutes after his son got his locked-in contract, $2.6 million. A lot of people say he did that on purpose to make sure Bronny got his contract with the Lakers right after he announced he's leaving. Some people are speculating he's going to go to Golden State Warriors to chase his last championship. Some are saying he's going to Cleveland because he had this clip of him, Kevin Love, and a bunch of previous Cavs guys that are reuniting in Cleveland. They were hanging out, and Kyrie Irving wasn't there. J.R. Smith went after him. Then J.R. Smith's like, I apologize. Kyrie's like, I couldn't make it. And then there was one other player that wasn't invited. Some are saying he may come to Miami to team up with Giannis to win something. So save that money on taxes. But either way, there has never been a superstar that went to the Lakers that never felt like a Laker than LeBron James. Never. I will tell you, the moment he announces the team, I'm wearing a Laker jersey on that podcast. The last time I rooted for the Lakers was a day before he came to the Lakers. I've never been a fan of the way he built up the NBA. I'm not a fan of the way he did it. And quite frankly, when you think about superstar, yesterday my daughter and I spent some time together. We had a blast. And I'm doing physical therapy. She's down there. We're laughing. We're crying. We're joking. We're doing all this stuff. She's not happy that mommy and, she wanted to go to soccer. She's at the house. And so she's jumping. And I said, babe, what do you want to watch? So we first watched this Reese Witherspoon movie where she's wearing this pink outfit where the boyfriend says, I have to tell you something. I want to be a senator one day. And I can't have a wife like you who didn't go to Ivy League school and she goes to school. I don't know what the movie is with Reese Witherspoon. It's funny as hell. And then 2 minutes into it, she's like, I'm bored, Daddy. So I said, if you're bored, I'm picking a movie. I picked Air. And you know what scene I went from in Air? I went in the boardroom where Sonny Vaccaro is giving the story to Michael. And he gives this emotional story. Do you know which speech this is?
Let me tell you what's going to happen.
Let me tell you what's going to happen. Have you guys seen the speech?
Yeah.
Let me tell you what's going to happen. He says, you're going to become the best player in the world. You're going to win championships. You're going to win MVPs. You're going to win All-Stars. You're going to win all this stuff. He says, but then you're going to fall. And when you fall, they're going to humiliate you. You're going to have massive setbacks in your family. Nike's going to be here for you. He says, no one's going to remember us. Nobody in this room is going to be remembered, but you will be remembered. You will be remembered for generations for what you do because you're Michael Jordan. And Sonny went to recruit him. And then afterwards, I just got the chills all over my body. And afterwards, you see the clips of Michael of the stuff that he did. My God, that guy was one of a kind. That you just fell in love with the guy. And LeBron never had that. He never had that. He chased. He did things that was just different. Don't get me wrong. In my opinion, second greatest basketball player of all time. But there is something weird when you see Laker fans across the board celebrating that he's leaving. He was with the Lakers for how long? 8 years, 9 years, 10 years? I don't know what the number is. And during the 9 years he was there, he won one championship. And if Trevor Bauer would have won that championship, he would have called the Mickey Mouse Championship. But he doesn't play basketball. He was there 8 seasons, one championship, and the one he won was the COVID one. And there are many memories of Michael will remember. There are not a lot of memories of LeBron will remember, except for the block, except for the comeback against Golden State Warriors, which Kyrie's the one that hit the three. But you're going to remember so many memories of Michael. So I'll keep this short from my end. Is there? And I'm not going to go through everybody. Does anybody have any thoughts on this story of LeBron retiring? Not retiring, leaving the Lakers.
I agree with you. I'm looking forward to it. I kind of grew up on the Lakers. I graduated high school when this young man from Michigan State had played in this amazing NCAA final. Magic. People forget that the first Magic and Bird big game was the NCAA final. Yeah. And then Magic gets drafted out of Michigan State and Indiana State. And that's what I grew up on. And it was purity, and it was there. And I loved it. And I love the Lakers. I have a ball signed by everybody from 87, 88, the back-to-back. And I just became disgusted with the game. I became disgusted with the league. And then I became disgusted with the flop and everything that went with it. And it took the joy out of a Laker fandom that was authentic for me. I grew up in L.A., and I grew up on this. And I went to the old forum, the Felt Forum, Chick Hearn saying, the Lakers, decorated in their forum blue and gold. And then you hear this guy, it's a very funny, the radio clip I'm talking about, Pat?
Yeah.
You hear the guy in the background says, "You're drunk. You're a drunk bum. It's purple and yellow." Because Chick Hearn used to say, decked out in the forum blue and gold. I remember all that. And I felt like LeBron and all he stood for and didn't stand for just tore my spirit. And I'm looking forward to taking my old tattered Laker t-shirt and taking things out of the closet and bringing back my fandom. I do have an opinion on this.
Yeah. Well, listen, to all the Laker fans out there, it's not going to be Luka's team, and hopefully they'll bring some other guys around them. Who knows? I think Anthony Edwards belongs in L.A. I think him and Luka would do well. I don't think either one of them have the killer instinct. I'd like to see a killer instinct type of Kobe guy show up to the Lakers that wants to win. But back in the days, Chick Hearn used to say the game is in the refrigerator. The door is closed. The lights are out. The eggs are cooling. The butter's getting hard.
And the Jell-O is jiggling.
Anyways, another great podcast, guys. Thanks for this. Tomorrow night, the debate, gubernatorial debate between Fishback Collins and Reno will be done at 6 p.m. If you're a member of the Cigar Lounge, you will be invited. If you're not, go to boardroomcigarlounge.com, boardroomcigarlounge.com. And guys, put the link below in the chat and the comment section for people to find. And another thing you need to know, for the next 3 weeks, we will not be doing podcasts 3 days a week. We won't have a business podcast for the next 3 weeks. Podcast schedule will go to Mondays and Thursdays for the next 3 weeks. Mondays and Thursdays for the next 3 weeks. Put it in your calendar, Mondays and Thursdays. We are going to release some exciting interviews that are coming out soon, but join us tomorrow night at 6 p.m. for the debate. And if you have any questions you want me to ask, you can always connect me for us to address that. With that being said, take care, everybody. I think we will do a podcast on Friday as well. God bless. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.